Good evening. It's March 11th at 7 PM. Here we are at the Norwood Planning Board at Town Hall, 5666 Washington Street, Room 12. First order of business is the approval of the minutes from February 11th, 2019. Has everyone had a chance to look at the minutes? Yep. Any comments or questions regarding the minutes?
Make a motion to accept the minutes.
Do I hear
Thank
a
you,
second?
Patrick.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second? Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's 5-0. Thank you. Our next order of business is the continued site plan review, 253 Manhattan Street, the convent redevelopment. Dan American, Legacy Engineering, LLC, and David Hearn from David Hearn Law. Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. For the record, David Hearn Jr. on behalf of the applicant, Manhattan Development LLC. We were before you a couple of weeks ago, and we left that meeting with the plan to continue working on the matter, to work on some revisions. Mr. American had some discussions with the town engineer, Mr. Ryan. You may have had some additional correspondence. And Mr. American has distributed this evening a progress print. He does not have everything buttoned down because some of what needs to be buttoned down we think would benefit from some discussion with the board on certain points. There's been a question raised about a tree that's by the front entrance. Mr. Ryan had some comments regarding the entrance itself and widening that. Mr. American's been working on that. Mr. Ryan had some comments about the stone wall. And so that's where we are. We're not at the point where we have what we consider to be a final plan, but as you know, very often these plans do depend upon discussions and comments from the board. So we're still open to those, but I wonder, Mr. Chairman, if it might make sense for Mr. American to point out what is different or new on the progress print that he's handed out to you folks, and he has the plans up on the easel also.
Okay. You may begin.
Good evening. Page 3, which some of you have found already, it's the new layout. So we are just about complete, but we are still working through a few last-minute details, so I wasn't able to complete for tonight, but wanted to take the opportunity to discuss a few things with you. Just a quick overview of the changes that we made, substantive changes. As we noted, we eliminated Unit 1. So this first building on the left becomes a two-building unit, and it's further back, it's 25.2 feet back from the street layout where it was 11.1. The 5 units on the right side of the driveway, it's in the vicinity of 16 feet from the street. We pushed them back to 21. Zoning board said at least 20. I always like to give contractors an extra foot or so I made it 21.
Right side or left side?
Right side.
Okay.
Okay?
So-
Dan, is it correct that you've renumbered the units
I
also?
have renumbered the units.
Right here.
Yeah.
And then Mark asked us
There
to
was one here.
widen the mouth of the driveway to 24 feet, which we've done, open up the corner roundings, which we've done. And I met with the deputy chief. He asked that we make this turnaround in the back a little bigger and a little
Yeah.
roomier. So it's
Right
grown
here.
6 feet
That was 3.
in
It's
diameter.
not 2.
And the center island changed a little bit. So I did that for the fire chief, and he also, the deputy chief, and he asked for revised hydrant locations, which we've done. We have one down here, one here, and one here now.
On the entrance, how are the sight lines? You got that all worked out as
Yes.
far as coming out?
Yeah, what we're gonna do is so we have notations on the plan to leave the retaining wall here, and then, can't see it on the sheet. Well, what we're gonna do is we're gonna take the stone that we remove from this gap here, we're basically gonna do a little return, a little curved return on either side, set back, so it gives people room. And then there's 3 sets of stairs in here, 1, 2, 3, those will be infilled with the same stone to basically preserve the stone wall that's there. And it should all work out nicely. Basically, as the driveway grades up, the stone wall just tapering to grade. So those are the substantive modifications, a lot of little details and nuances. We did add a mail kiosk here. This is one of the comments that was generated, an area for centralized mail location. So we took this green space here, we put a mail kiosk and a little pull-off. So you can pull over to the side of the driveway, get out of the way of other traffic, and get out and get your mail, and then get back in your car and go to your unit if you want. There's also a sidewalk that runs right in front of it, so you can also walk to it if you'd like to.
Is that where you're gonna be storing some snow also, or?
Well, we have more green space here now because we lost a unit, so we'll have snow storage here and here, and it could be down here. And yeah, there'll be some snow storage in this area, but not a ton.
Have them watch out for the
Watch out.
mailbox, have them watch out for the mailbox.
That's right. So, there are two questions that I would like guidance from the board on. I'm gonna save the best for last. The first one was the town planner suggested we have a sidewalk on this side of the street, all the way up and around to here. He suggested a sidewalk on the other side. It's driveway, I shouldn't call it a street, it's a driveway. Personally, I hate to see the green space go. You know, between this sidewalk and the driveway, we have 30, 31, 32 feet of impervious surface. You know, if we had another 5-foot sidewalk, do the math, see how it grows. So I guess I need a decision from the board, informal if you will, about whether you want to see that sidewalk on the left side. If we were going to do it, I would probably just start at these unit 16 here and come down. There's really not a lot of value to having sidewalk all the way around here.
Other than it's a nice walking loop.
There's lots of
Not that I
sidewalks in the
walk.
neighborhood. There's sidewalks everywhere.
You'd start it in front of,
If I was gonna do
Lot,
it over there, I would start at
unit-
unit 16 and come down to Manhattan Street. I wouldn't necessarily extend all the way up and around.
to unit 24, is it? Or
Yeah.
14? 14. You wouldn't put anything in front of 14 and 15? I mean, if you're
It's a
gonna,
little patch of grass, you know?
well,
I
I
could
mean,
do it.
if you're
I could start
gonna,
at 14.
I mean, I'll give you the back half, but I would start it in front of, I mean, if you gotta, you know, why would you not, if you'd have 2 units without a sidewalk in front of it, why would you do that? I mean, I would just continue it. Those people can come out and walk over their neighbors and on a sidewalk and what's the width of the sidewalk, 5 feet?
5 feet.
God, I think that's wide. That's the standard though, isn't it?
It is typical, but 4 feet is adequate.
And so that sidewalk, you would have what, a 3-foot or a 2-foot grow strip?
No grass strip.
No grass
Sidewalk is
strip.
adjacent to
the strip.
driveway.
Okay, so there's just curb, it's just sidewalk, curb, street.
Yeah.
Okay, no grass strip.
Yes.
This is a condo association, correct?
Correct.
This is a driveway, not a road.
Correct.
I don't think it's any secret that would rather have green than sidewalk. Because it is not a through street. It's not even a cut-through street. And there's 17, 18 units on it.
18.
18.
And the people that live there stay there. I know this is gonna shock everybody. I would vote for the green. But
And the width of the road, most of the way
It
through?
goes from 24 here down to 20 here, so that's tapered. And then from here to here is 20, and then we have.
Sure, okay. So if
20
someone
all the way
wanted
around the
to
cul-de-sac.
use the other sidewalk, and if we kept it green, they'd only have to cross 24 feet. I'd rather save the greenery also. I don't think it's necessary.
Are you talking narrowing the sidewalk as well? As
No, I
eliminating
think
the
you're,
green?
I think
No, I'm
he's
just using
eliminating.
just using
just
one
using
side.
one side.
You're not, in other words, you're not
Leaving it as
suggesting
is.
putting it on the
You're saying
left-hand
leaving
side.
it as
Leave
is.
what's shown now.
Leaving as it is now.
Yeah.
I don't, I don't think they would need it. If someone is gonna be leaving, I could see them just crossing the street and walking down, and it's,
To Al's point, if it's a cut-through street or a town street where, you know, you got people on both sides, but this is a condo development.
Yes,
And-
but they're people.
I understand, but they've got all this space, they can get on that side without, I mean, it's not a cut-through street.
and also we're saving the impervious, you know, surface.
My work is done. I'm
we'll
going
have
home.
less water runoff, and I think that's a good thing to.
Mr. Chairman, is, maybe Patrick could answer this, or you could answer it, I'm not sure. I am in favor of the sidewalk on that side. I think that those, at least from 14 to the street, just for the reason I.
Public safety.
Public safety, whatever you instead, but can you waive, we can waive the width of the sidewalk down to 4 feet, right?
It's not a regulation.
It's not a
It
regulation,
could be
so
whatever,
it could
you
be
know,
whatever.
ADA requires at least 36 inches of
Okay.
clearance, but yeah, 4 feet.
I mean, I personally, Mr. Chairman, would be in favor of a sidewalk from Manhattan Street down to in front of Unit 14, but I would, I would say 4 feet would be adequate. I'm looking at the blocks up there. You know, we don't need a full 5, that's for there, but I would say, I'd be in favor of a 4 foot.
On both sides.
Yeah, I would like a sidewalk on both sides. I mean, I'm okay with maybe not making the full loop around the back where the ledge is, but at least from the, I think every house should have a sidewalk in front of it.
Are you gonna unbalance it, put 5 feet on one side and 4 feet on the
I
other?
would be willing to go to 4 feet on both sides. I don't think you need, I think you're talking, a few houses. I think 4 feet is a wide enough sidewalk for anybody to walk on or walk their dog to wherever they're going or walk down. I don't think you need 5 feet on a 24-foot road. I think that's overkill, but I think, personally, I'd like
But
to
it's
see
not a
sidewalk on both.
24-foot road.
I mean,
20.
20.
I thought
Yeah.
Mr. Ryan wanted at least 22 feet.
No, I think it tapers down
He
now
asked
from
us
the
to
mouth.
bring it
Twenty-
down
24 is down
24 to
here.
street and taper to 20.
Yeah, it tapers down to 20. I personally would like to see a sidewalk on both sides, just my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a sidewalk would, kind of help out the neighborhood. Easier access and a place to hang out and kind of gives kind of a similar look to both sides of the street.
I'd want to see the 22 feet go all the way around, only because the density of the housing is where you choke down the roadway. So with the largest number of vehicles and people, you've narrowed the road down there. It doesn't make sense to me.
You mean out by Manhattan Street?
No, up by the circle and all the way back down to,
Make it a continuous loop, is that what you?
well, it's a continuous loop, except that it's narrower.
Yeah, no, but you're saying make the sidewalk a continuous loop.
No, I'm not talking, I'm talking the roadway.
Oh, the road,
I'll
the
concede-
road.
I'll
Oh,
concede to the 4 foot all the way around with the sidewalk, rather than the 5 foot. But I think the road is too narrow. It's a public way. It
It's not
isn't a public way,
It's
I know
It's a
that.
private driveway.
But it isn't a driveway.
Not even a private
Counselor.
road, it's a private driveway.
It's not a driveway, Counselor, with 19 units on it.
Well,
It's a road, in my opinion. But I understand, it's allowable.
well, we're trying to preserve green space. We're trying to have
But-
a reasonably sized driveway to serve the units, 18 units. We've been able to make it larger up at the top at the request of the deputy fire chief. And, but when you come down that roadway, it's not as if people are going to be parking on the roadway or anything like that. We've got adequate parking. Dan, does widening the roadway affect the length of that will affect the length of the driveway aprons, correct?
Yeah, we'll make them shorter.
So we want them large enough for parking purposes, we want them large enough for a car without hanging out into the street. We don't want to lose, distance there. And yet we also don't have a lot of leeway to push buildings back towards the rear lines because of the site itself and the conditions. So we prefer not to widen the road. I understand the comments about the sidewalk and whether you put it from unit 14 down. It's not a lot of sidewalk, I suppose, because the driveways are the major. The longest section would be between units 16 and 17. Otherwise, it's really just playing hopscotch with driveways. you know, a 4-foot a 4-foot sidewalk on each side would probably be adequate. I mean, 4-foot sidewalk is adequate. 5 feet is probably more than we need for such a small development.
Could I make a suggestion? Maybe like split we have a landscaped area right here
Yes.
Which one were you?
on,
Right here.
okay, so we have a little landscaped area
Yeah.
here. I'm trying to reach some compromise. If you're gonna walk on the grass, and then they've got, that's a driveway, that's a driveway. You've only got a little strip between the driveways. This is all blacktopped anyway, right?
Yes.
Right? So if you're
What are
gonna
you looking at
walk,
me for?
well, I'm trying to.
Ernie's the
split-
guy that's taking the.
Okay,
sidewalk.
Ernie? Boy, you threw him right under the bus.
I
So what-
don't know what were you asking me?
Well, I
Mr.
haven't
Bowman?
finished.
Oh,
How
okay.
about something, because for snow storage, what if we did just a walkway? What's the run of this? 20, 40, is that 60 feet?
This strip?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably in that vicinity.
60 feet?
60, 70 feet.
What if we did like a little walkway, garden, something? And then these people that are just kind of walking in the neighborhood, which you're concerned about nicely, you could put just a sidewalk here or a little
Couple of
park
benches.
area
and
or
They
something.
can rest up after
There you
that
go,
walk
rest that
all the
big
way
walk
around
around
the
the
other
corner.
side.
And then we could get rid of the sidewalk because they're gonna be walking on blacktop all the way to there. And then we give them a little, Ernie? What do you
I'm
think of that
with-
idea?
I don't like it.
You don't like it? What do you like?
I like a sidewalk on both sides, 4 feet. I'm just one.
I agree with him.
I'm just one guy. I'm just.
I think we're at
I
a
think
sidewalk
I-
on both
We
sides.
can add the
Well-
sidewalk from Unit 14 down to Manhattan Street.
Yeah.
Just not run it around that rotary roundabout. We can do that. We give up a little bit of green space. If we make it 4 feet, we make it 4 feet on the other side also.
I'd
So
be
that
fine
makes
with
up-
that.
That makes up for some of the additional green space that we're taking away on the other side.
But you said you have more than enough green space on this than what's required, correct?
Oh, we do.
Yeah, so that's not really an issue of the green space.
No, but it's a 5 feet on both sides is probably too much sidewalk. 4 feet on both sides we can do.
I don't have a problem with 4
And,
feet.
and it doesn't go beyond Unit 14. Going up on the left, it ends at Unit 14. There's no reason to have it, and we're gonna be dealing with ledge anyway
Maybe
by the time
climbing
you
up
get
the
here.
ledge to step
Yeah.
down off
Yeah.
the ledge back onto the
Um,
sidewalk.
Yeah, nothing's gonna be gained by that. And then, so then we have the walkway. People have a walkway for almost all of the development. 4 feet, we can do that. It's plenty big for what we need.
Okay, I like the
And
little
you're right,
park
we-
idea, but what the heck?
We still have,
I think that's a great idea.
Well, you gotta
What-
give to get.
what,
We're
Let
not
them not
giving
put the-
anything.
Let them not put the sidewalk on that
No,
side and put a
no,
little park
no.
there.
That's not a give and get.
I think that ship has sailed.
It's always a
1,
rowboat.
2, 3.
You want to take a consensus, Mr. Chairman?
It looks like it's,
I don't know if
2
we
to
need it in the
3.
form of a motion, but I think you need a consensus at this
okay.
point, right?
Anyone for the one-sided sidewalk, raise your hand, say aye. There's 2 of us.
Raise your hand, Bree.
And your proposal is
On
for,
the other side.
For a
this
sidewalk on both sides, but I would
See
I
the
would
width of
suggest
4
that
feet.
we reduce the width of 4 feet on both sides.
all in favor, say aye. It's 3 to 2.
Okay.
That's part of the type of guidance we were looking for. And
And what about the roadway width? I still have a problem with the choking down to the 20 feet.
it's 20 feet and a Cape Cod berm,
Yes.
so effectively
Effectively 22.
22 in terms of space.
Oh, so they're just gonna ride up over the berm?
Yeah, well, they
And
do
that-
everywhere
Well,
else.
how often is it going to be an issue? That's what we're wondering. We don't expect it's really going to be an issue. You know, with
No, because it's
18 households,
it's a project that you're proposing, and you're looking to save some money. That's why
We're
You're
also,
looking at the condition that way.
well, we're looking at, that's a factor, but it's not the only factor, it's the design factor in terms of where you can put all this. If you make the road, you're proposing 4 feet wider?
2 feet. It's 20, I'm saying going to 22. And just in that spot that you haven't widened already, as you come into the loop. From the mailbox to the loop.
The scale here.
And they lose driveway width. Is that driveway length long enough for 2 cars?
Not two,
Yeah, two-
not
yeah,
one
side
car,
by
side by
side.
side.
There's
We
2
have-
in the garage.
We have 4
and two-
spaces
out front.
per unit, 2 in the garage.
Okay.
2 on the driveway apron. The driveway itself, rather. And that exceeds the requirements, but it makes
Right,
sense to
but
have
we
it.
don't have on-street parking, so that's where the cars are gonna
We
park.
don't want to have on-street
Right.
parking.
Will that be posted?
We can
No
post that.
on-street parking? I know it's a condo association, it's their property.
It's their property, and I think to put that on, it becomes unenforceable. How's it going to be enforced? Not a police matter. Police won't have any real jurisdiction there. So what's the point of having something that might get ignored?
Yep.
I think these are the types of things that will work out simply by people living there and figuring out what makes sense.
The fire department was okay with the 20? I mean, they asked you to go from, I mean, but they were, I mean, I know they suggested at the opening, right?
That was Mark.
Oh, that was Mark.
So I met with Deputy Chief, and he
Maggio,
said that
probably.
yeah,
Yeah.
and he said that if we made the cul-de-sac larger, he would be okay with.
So he get
the
his trucks
design
around it?
as proposed. Yeah.
Yeah.
I showed him he can get his trucks around it anyways, but he just wanted a little more room, a little safety factor. So we did that. We widened the cul-de-sac area for him, and he said that the rest of it was okay.
Dan, so when you met with Ron, did he also decide against doing the emergency access?
He did.
Okay,
He says
that
that's
makes
not
sense.
necessary with
Yeah.
the larger cul-de-sac.
All right.
Do you have Mark Ryan's letter? from
What's the
last-
feeling of the
Yeah.
board on that?
I think the road's wide enough for the condo association and I'm green girl, so.
I think it's wide enough.
I'm all right with it, the way it is. If, Mark Ryan and the fire chief are all right with it.
Okay, I'm okay with it too.
I know that I caught a road, got down to 20 feet, and I drive that road a lot, and it's you can't even tell the
And
difference.
just keep it close. I don't know what to do with my copy.
Okay.
Okay, so the next issue is the tree.
The Liberty
Uh,
truck.
Cut it down.
This is the tree. It is a 24-inch crimson maple, and it is right here. So, I'm just gonna throw up the landscape plan here. somewhere. There it is. I need to finalize this plan for the final set, so I need to know whether we're gonna keep the tree or do away with the tree. You have a note from the town engineer indicating that the tree is likely to be strained by the construction and that he would rather see very mature deciduous trees and evergreen trees installed. So what we have proposed here, just so you know, is we have proposed here, let's see, I gotta read we have 3 8 to 10 foot Norway spruces proposed right here. So that tree is right there. So if the tree stays, those can't go there because they won't live under the canopy. They won't survive under the canopy.
What's the height of those that you're looking to put in?
8 to 10,
8 to 10 feet?
yep.
Diameter
Then we,
is, diameter is,
8 to 10 is probably
well,
a 5 or
it's
6.
evergreen, you don't really have a diameter. It's, that's installed height, so, it's about as tall as this room.
What kind of, like a blue spruce, so it's going in there? No.
That one there is a Norway spruce.
Okay.
Okay, and then we have a pin oak here, and we have a ginkgos, 2 autumn gold ginkgos. So we have right now proposed 2.5 to 3 inch caliber deciduous trees, pin oak and ginkgos here, and then down here we have an AR, which is a red maple. And then these are 3 arborvitaes, green giant arborvitaes. So what the town engineer suggested was basically taking these deciduous trees, these 4 deciduous trees, and kicking them up to like a 4.5 inch caliber. And he said, you know, the evergreen should be over 6 feet in height, which we have already anyways. So I just need a decision from the board what to do here. You know, none of this is gonna change. So we lost unit 1, so when I have him redesign the plan, I'm probably gonna pull all this green stuff back a little bit, just to create some separation from the street.
In his letter, he kind of talks about the tree and maybe getting stressed and replacing it, but my issue, not my issue, but our issue in our last meeting was that you needed that area for drainage.
So we have reworked the drainage a little bit, and Mark has not seen it or blessed it, but we have been able to do away with that little drainage area.
Okay,
So as
so,
long as Mark is okay with it,
right,
you know, it's free space. If he's okay with the drainage design as we have revised it. We're not gonna know that for another week until I get it into him and he has a chance to review it.
That's on the progress print tonight,
Correct.
right?
Yep.
all right, so that little drainage, so that's not the issue anymore?
No.
As far as,
As far as I know.
until Mark gives it the okay.
So now it's kind of a
just-
choice between 2 things, between this kind of a configuration where we're putting these large evergreen trees in and larger new deciduous trees, or we're saving the existing crimson maple. And, you know, this stuff is gonna have to change, you know, the pin oak will go away, because it's right on top of the crimson maple, these 2 can stay, but these large deciduous tree, these large evergreen trees can't really be under that tree, they won't survive.
You know, this has become the
Have to do
Liberty
something
tree,
different,
around.
You know,
Well-
we'd end up
Please,
doing
don't say.
shrubs or something.
Could we try something like this? You're not putting the drainage thing there.
Right.
And if it's a healthy crimson maple, and the foundation is 15 feet away from it, approximately? The
More,
first?
because we moved these units back now 5 or 6 feet, so.
So, to placate all of us, could we leave it if it dies during construction?
Well, it won't die during construction. What happens is, you know, if it gets stressed, it'll just over time degrade.
I got it. I'm with him.
I didn't see I didn't go up there and see the base of it. Is that,
There's exposed roots all over the ground, which is one of the reasons why he's concerned about it. You know, the roots are kind of hanging out on the surface of the ground all over the tree.
now that you can't backfill over those?
Well, we can put a little bit of loam
Oh,
over it. I
yeah,
mean, we're
but-
saving the wall, so that grade all stays the same
The same.
now. You know, you could top dress loam over it, but it has a lot of exposed roots up there. I'm not an arborist.
I'm not either.
I'm not either, but a crimson maple comes to the top to live. That's how they expose part of their, I looked it up on the
you?
interweb, which could be wrong, because it's the interweb.
Can't be. It's on the
It's on the
net.
internet, it's on it.
So it's pick your poison on this one, right, basically?
We just need to pick one so I can change the plan.
I mean, if we keep it and it dies,
Will you replace it?
Well, the condo association.
The condo association.
somebody else who's not here today is gonna have the responsibility for dealing with it.
Taking it down. They may not replace anything. At that point, they may take it, if it dies 5 years from now, they may take it down, but they have no
Requirement.
requirement, exactly,
Right.
thank you, Al, to replace it.
I understand that.
So, I
So
don't know.
The first couple of units, especially the first one, they're gonna want the privacy there from the
Yes.
street.
And the
Which
crimson
gives you
maple has-
which gives you the better
It's all
privacy.
cleared out underneath. The crimson maple's all cleared out 8-10 feet above grade. It's
So
all
the,
open under there.
if you were living in that unit, the better privacy for you would be what you have
The
proposed here.
the evergreen trees, yeah, no question.
Because they're gonna stay green all year round.
Yep.
May I ask a question on the drainage that you removed from there?
Yeah.
Was it expansion on the others, or did you find another
Yeah, we had to
alternative?
make this bigger.
You did?
It's in the plans you have,
Okay.
yeah, I don't know what sheet, but it's,
Yeah. It's on 6.
Now, we have some folks that are interested
Page
in the
6.
public, right? You must be from the neighborhood? Does anyone have any ideas on the tree? Yes, just state your name and,
Sally Buttinger, 256 Railroad Avenue. I've been listening to this talk about the tree. My husband has been trying to explain where the tree is, and I haven't been able to, in my mind, where it was. Saturday, coming home from church, I made a point of looking for the tree. It isn't a very big tree. It has part of, I think there's one branch that's already broken off. It looks like it's in its last
Leg.
legs, shall we say. It really, it really looks like it's time to be blessed and be.
Last rites?
Pardon me?
Last rites?
No pun
I'm
intended?
giving it the last rites, yes.
Go right to the paper mill, right?
Because it would need to be trimmed. And I mean, we had our tree trimmed some years ago. And we have a huge, what is it? Some kind of maple. I don't know what kind of maple it is. And we had it trimmed because our neighbor asked if they could trim what was over their driveway. And we said, yeah, because they've done it before. But I don't think the guy was an arborist. He came and he cut it right
Right over the property.
at the tree. No, right at the tree, right at the tree. So our tree kind of leans anyhow toward our house.
Now.
No, it's always leaned toward the house.
No.
And our arborist told me that's the way it grew. I thought it was leaning. So we had to have somebody trim it. It was just, I should say who trimmed it. It cost $1,800 to trim this tree. And I've been thankful when we had all of these windstorms. A lot of small branches fall. So I think just to keep this, I felt sorry for the tree. I thought it looked pathetic, I really did. But I finally.
Well, it's not in its best stage, it is winter.
No, why, our tree looks terrible in
Oh.
winter.
Oh, no, no.
And he always
sidewalk.
says, we have to get rid of it. I said, no.
She's not dressed now.
I said, the tree's been here longer than you have. We got married in '86, I've been there since '41, so the tree's been there longer than Richard has. So I really just think that this tree is ready to, as you said, give it the last rites,
Any,
be gone with it.
any other comments on the trees? Anyone want to have any comments?
You want to read that gentleman's thing into the record?
In fact, if I may say, you should actually go and take a look at the tree. The picture.
Well, I've looked at the tree.
Yeah, but
We already did.
We already did that?
Yep.
Okay.
Last meeting.
it's a little,
He spoke personally.
Okay, well, thank you, that's helpful.
So the alternative would be 8 to 10 foot high,
8 to
green,
10 foot
I
high,
mean-
evergreen shrub trees here, and then we have a pin oak that we would increase to 4 to 4.5 inch caliper, and we have 2 ginkgos here that we would also increase to 4 to 4.5 inch caliper.
so basically from Manhattan Street, you'd be looking wind complete, like a wall of,
Yeah, well, the landscape architect here is looking to create some privacy for the backyards of these units here. That's why these evergreen trees are positioned here and here. It's strategic so that the rest of this is kind of more decorative. But certainly in the summertime, with all this deciduous stuff out in the leaf, it creates a nice wall. But in the wintertime, those evergreens basically create privacy for the units closest to the street.
and just one last question, you had a landscape architect look at this?
Yeah, he designed it.
He designed it, and his opinion, and probably not at your say-so, was his opinion to
I didn't ask him if we
to
should
get
save
rid of the tree,
or not.
or
I didn't give him that
he didn't
choice.
say, he didn't see that tree and say, boy, it's a beautiful tree, we gotta save it?
He did not.
No, he did not.
No, he didn't say anything to me about the tree.
It was Mr. Ryan consulted an arborist, and I think his letter said.
Yeah,
he
that,
brought
I
somebody
saw
up
that,
there.
but I meant the
Design person.
design person. Sometimes they see something and say, they see some kind of a
Copper
big
beech.
rock or a beautiful tree, and they say, somehow we gotta work that into the, we can't lose that, we gotta keep it, so.
Any other comments on the tree? Members of the board? I think we've heard, and I'm gonna hear, I'll save you for the last.
Okay.
You've already, we know where you
I
stand.
know. Oh, we have a lady in the aisle.
I just have a question, unrelated to the tree.
Name and
I'm just
address.
curious. what
Oh,
is
your
the
name and
price-
address?
Pardon?
Name and address?
Oh, Linda Curran, I live on Wilson Street in Norwood. But I'm interested in this because I'm contemplating making a move. And something like this kind of appeals to me. So I'm interested in what is your price range?
We don't really know yet.
No idea whatsoever?
No.
That is a function of many things, the market,
Right.
the
Construction
cost of
costs.
construction, the difficulties we may or may not encounter. But a lot of it is the market and what the market will be roughly a year from now, when we would expect to be marketing the units. Beyond that, we really can't say what they're going to run for. And we've had that question before, and
I'm
we
sure you have.
haven't been able to answer it for various reasons.
No. Yes, sir.
I'm sort of the Darth Vader of the history of this.
What's,
property.
just your name and address?
Stephen Hasselfuss, 283 Nat. I've been given the history of this property. I've lived there all my life. And I'm the one that brought up the part about the underground mine that was there back in the 1840s. That poo-poo, that's over with, I guess, we're not worried about that. The drainage that comes down from Westwood with underground pipes. I'm just telling, I wanted these people to know what's under that property. What is there that I know from my ancestors that was told to me. I can tell you the whole history of that property. That they even used to have Ku Klux Klan burn the cross on the top of the ledge back in the 1850s. I can go back with all the history.
Okay, well-
One thing I want to talk about here is that people are going to put all this money into the deciduous trees and the fir trees. You better have an arborist come, because I live on property that abuts this. And we have what they call a bad infestation of winter moths. And the winter moth comes out just before Christmas and lays his eggs, her eggs, excuse me. And then the little green maggots that come down on the strings come
Fall
out
in my
the minute
pool.
the leaves open in the
Fall in
spring.
my pool.
And they devour the whole area of the Norway maples, which are there. They're just completely, then if the tree is strong enough, they put out another set of leaves, later in the season. But, it's just this balance that goes on all the time. If you're gonna put expensive trees in there, you better have this checked out, and have it sprayed or something, or get rid of these winter moths, which have just been in there for years and years and years. And not only that, but I had 3 40-foot spruce between me and my neighbor, which ended up with not one needle on the tree because of the mealy, I don't know the name of them, they're like a mealy white moth, not a moth, but fungus that comes out on the tree and eats the spruce tree and the conifer trees, right from the bottom, right to the tippity top, so there's not a needle left. They had to take down the 3 trees. They'd been there for over 50, 60 years. So you've got both of those insect problems there, and that should be, if you're gonna put a lot of good money into trees, you better have somebody check that out, I would think, wouldn't you?
Okay.
Easy enough.
You've been notified.
Duly noted.
And so as far as this tree issue here, what do you gentlemen think of it?
I just love the green. I'm with Debbie. Proposal the way it is fine. If the crimson doesn't make it, then, go with Plan B to survive. Or if it should be removed, then remove it. I mean, you get the professionals that are gonna give you your best advice. And I can go either way with it coming down and then replanting something that will replace it. And it looks nice.
I was hoping to keep it as well. It's got a lot of character. I don't know, I like the tree, I like the wall. I like the look of it. I don't know. Like Al said, if it comes down at some point, then you kind of have
You'd
any
have
option.
the condo association take care of it in that case then.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd rather, the Senate vote, of course, I'd rather see the wall of pine on, above the wall and block the view of the condo. So, I mean, do whatever the board wants, but I have no problem with that tree coming down and giving that first house privacy. And I think the trees would block, make a nice wall of green that would, hide the,
Church.
no, that first building. So if the vote, I feel bad the tree would come down, but I think this is a better plan, but that's just me.
Mr. Chairman.
I think it's a better plan also. I'd rather have it the way it is and remove the tree. We already have testimony here that it's in pretty rough shape. I don't know why we would be saving it at this point.
On life support.
If it's on life support,
Not
at this
on
point.
life
We don't know
Mr.
that.
Chairman, my client, who's Mr.
Yeah.
Fitzgerald, sitting off there in the corner, I think his view is if we can keep it, we'll keep it.
I think if you could keep it,
Yeah. We're willing to
might be
try.
better for the long run.
I
This is
think
I'm sorry, Mr.
This is
your
one of the
project?
one of my
Oh,
principles.
so if the principal wants to keep it,
The other comment I would make
Then,
on that
then
is Mr. Ryan's
it's
letter
his
was
dime.
written at a time that we were proposing, and Dan, correct me if I'm wrong on this, we were proposing an infiltration system in
Drainage
that.
in the area.
Drainage in that
Mm.
corner.
Yeah.
If we move that out of there, then the risk to the tree may be diminished. Because when Mr. Ryan and the
Fine.
arborists were looking at it, they were looking at it with the understanding that we were going to have drainage in that section of the project. If we move the drainage out, the tree might have a better chance. If the tree dies, then people are gonna have to figure it out then, whether to take it down and replace it, or take it down and leave it. And the other things that have been put in the meantime may in fact prove to be sufficient in that case. But
Is that less privacy for those units on the right? The first
In
and.
the wintertime, yeah.
maybe in the winter, but
well, Mr. Chairman, in lieu of, I apologize to the gentleman who's spearheading the project. If he's in favor of keeping the tree, then I'll agree with him. I'll try to
Okay.
keep the tree.
Well, there's your guidance.
Okay.
How tall is Kathy Hale? How tall are the units?
They're under the building code requirement, which is
30
35
feet.
feet.
30 feet.
30 feet. 30 feet.
So if you put trees along the wall, and it'd be nice if they were, pretty high so that it would obliterate the view.
Well, they're looking at a
They're
10-foot, to plant a 10-foot, they would grow, taller, but. So, and then, my opinion would be, let's try to keep the tree,
Okay,
if they,
all right, well,
that's really the.
you have your guidance there.
Yep.
On
And
I
that.
don't know.
he's already moved.
Al, that's what you wanted, right? You wanted to keep the tree?
Absolutely.
Rob wanted to keep it, Debbie, we don't want to keep it, okay. So consensus, Mr. Chairman? Keep the
We're
tree?
fine, we're fine. yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Can
So
I
that's
ask
it
one question?
on my end.
Yes, one, go ahead.
The wires that run right in front of the tree,
Yeah,
the telephone wires,
yeah.
do those go to the convent? They're kinda all fuddled in the tree.
The ones
you-
on the property?
Well, I don't so
Hang on.
the tree is there and the wire, the electric wires run right through it? In front of the tree or whatever, it's
Up the Hatton Street.
defoliated right now, yeah.
No, those are going to,
Are those going to
school.
the school?
they're going to the school.
Okay. So when are you gonna drop down?
Well, we're gonna come off of, so we had this conversation with the light department in our, department meeting. We're gonna come off
Older guy.
with power off of the utility pole, which is right here. And then we're gonna, we can't get the telecommunications off of that pole as well, so we're gonna come off of the pole over here for telecommunications. They have, they have a cable service that they offer, phone, those will come off that, so we're coming off of two different poles,
On the Houghton Street?
yeah.
Okay, but you couldn't come in from Railroad?
School.
no. Too
Uh,
can't come in from
from-
Railroad?
Well, that's too
No.
far away.
Is too
Yeah.
far away, yeah, we
It
come
is?
in off.
Yeah, and we'd be coming through other people's property.
Yeah.
We
You don't
want,
touch it back there?
hmm?
You don't touch? in
No,
the
we don't
back?
go out to Railroad Ave.
Even,
We don't
No,
go anywhere
no.
near
The
Railroad Ave.
parking lot, the school
And there are
parking
other
lot goes
houses,
around.
other
Okay.
houses. yeah.
a 4-inch caliber dam. I'm thrilled that we're gonna leave it until she dies, or maybe whatever. How old is a 4-inch caliper tree approximately?
Depends on the tree.
I tell you,
I-
it does depend
Depends
on
on
the
the tree.
tree.
Right.
I have no idea.
A blue spruce, it's probably 10 years. Oak is probably 2 years.
Yeah, I mean, 4-inch caliper is probably 4 or 5 years old,
Okay,
would be my guess.
okay. I'm done, thank you.
Okay.
I have a question.
There may be people with
The
questions.
telephone poles and everything, are they all going into the cul-de-sac there and around? Or will all the wiring be underground?
Underground.
Thank you.
Yeah. We had when we had the department head meeting, Dan Morrissey from the light department was there, and we had a discussion regarding the poles, what poles could be used, what poles couldn't be used for certain types of service, and the fact that we want to go underground with our utilities within the project. So that's our plan there.
I did have one issue. I did, during the past 2 weeks, I did run into at least 2 people who live nearby, and they overall liked what was going to happen. They said, well, if anything's going to go in there, this seems to fit the bill. Matter of fact, one of them said they're happy to have new neighbors, you know, so maybe not everyone, that's just a little sample, but they did have some questions, and one of them was communication as to if there's certain things that are going to be done. I know that we talked about blasting, it may or may not happen, and there's a whole protocol. I know people have to be notified. I
Right.
can remember this from before, and it's
Yeah.
quite a process, and you'd have to do that. The other one would be if there's asbestos removal,
Right.
and
Everything that is going to be done in the course of demolition of the convent building will be done according to both the local requirements and state law, and any federal requirements. So we're going to have to bring qualified, licensed professionals in to deal with asbestos, deal with anything else. All of that will be properly contained and properly dealt with. We've mentioned that before at our meetings.
Right.
And Mr. Fitzgerald has experience on this. He knows what has to be done.
the main thing that she was interested in was communication as to, you know, we definitely want to be notified when this is going to happen and when that's going to happen. If there's going to be,
Are these people in the immediate neighborhood?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well-
So her thing was, she's younger than you and I, so she said, I don't know.
Most people are, I found.
Yeah, we're above the median now, I guess, yeah.
I'd
And
like to think that way.
yeah. And so she said something like, a flyer in my door is not going to be that effective with me. I may never see it as much as if there's a website I can check or if there's some sort of other communication. Now, I don't know if she's asking for too much, or do you have a website? Do you do those sort of things, or is that, I'm just throwing that out there, just to
One-
get an
one of
answer.
One of the difficulties with that type of approach is that people then think that they're going to be told absolutely everything, and people's
I understand
judgment of
that.
what they should be told may be different from somebody else's judgment of what they
Her
should be told.
specific thing was the asbestos, because she said, if they tell me that, I want to take off for a week down the Cape or something. But I know that, I know that.
I
that's
frankly
a
don't
problem.
think that's necessary.
I know,
but-
They
but,
seal up the building.
You know, the building is
Yeah.
sealed
Oh, yeah.
in order to do it.
That's
and
a whole thing.
You've
That's
probably
a whole
seen it
thing.
in some of your former work.
Yep.
Thank you.
But it is, I think if we said, oh, we're going to have a website and we'll notify everybody of everything they could be concerned about, we're going to miss something that somebody was concerned
Sure,
about,
sure.
and then there'll be bigger problems. So that's not a requirement.
Just ask you to give it some thought on communicating, make sure
Yeah.
things get,
The-
people get
the- I will
notified.
tell you that the parish has asked us to lay out, and we'll be giving them some details in terms of what will be done and when it will be done and so forth. Part of that depends upon when we get all the approvals we need. But certainly, the parish, for the sake of operations at the church and the school, will want to know, and we're working on providing them with some information that they've asked for. Of course, they're aware of it. I realize some people think that we're doing something that the school and parish aren't aware of. We're buying the property from the
No, we
Archdiocese.
understand that.
And we've met with the pastor and the business manager of the parish to go over details. So they're well aware of what's going on, and I don't think they're taking a position, but I will state what I've stated before, and I'm authorized to say this, that the proceeds of this sale go to St. Catherine's Parish and School. not to the Archdiocese, even though the Archdiocese technically owns the property. The proceeds of sale will go to the parish, to be used for parish and school purposes. And Father Donahoe has included that in a letter in the bulletin several weeks ago about that. So if there's any doubt, let that resolve the doubt. It's actually a matter of canon law where it goes.
Okay. And I think the other gentleman, his main thing was drainage, so hopefully he's been satisfied. I know that you
Yeah.
did some changes, but
Yeah, we had a drainage system back here in the corner, and I took it away, and again, we made this one larger. So we took these two smaller systems, got rid of them, made the main system larger.
Some of the folks on Railroad Ave had expressed a concern about drainage, that they had had problems on their own in the past, and were concerned about whether what we're doing might create new problems or add to their problems. And while I think they don't have any current problems, that's why, as Dan said, we moved out of that corner with the drainage system, and it's all in that one area right there.
okay.
I just have
Yeah, sure.
two last thoughts. Dan, how confident you feel you're moving the drainage out of that lower right corner? You think Mark will buy it?
I do.
Okay, because if he doesn't, then we're back to taking a tree down,
If
right?
it doesn't, the tree's probably gotta go.
The tree's gone, okay, so that's,
But I think it'll be okay.
and I guess this one is a Mark Schubert concern more than us, but during construction, have you made any arrangements with the school as far as, especially like, well, during the summertime especially, to use the parking lot to pull stuff? I mean, if all that construction is gonna, all the removal, the tearing down of the convent, well, the tearing down of the convent is pretty much enough, but, all of that, if that all dumps out and all those construction vehicles coming in and out off in Manhattan, there's a lot of trucks in the course of a day during construction to build 19 houses in a road.
Well, they're gonna
So
come
if
on-
they could come out,
Unfortunately.
18, but if they could go across the parking lot, or use the parking lot as staging or whatever, I mean, I'm sure that Mike Schubert's probably addresses that anyway, but construction plans and, it's a lot of movement on and off that, especially when you got people lined up at the school there to pick kids up. I mean, that's kind of so I'm sure Mike will address that with you anyway.
We'd like to be able to schedule everything so that we're creating the
Least amount of, I mean,
least
most amount of during the
inconvenience
summer,
to
yeah.
to the school operation as well as the neighborhood.
But they
So
maybe
we're gonna
the
work on that as best
maybe
we
the
can.
the school lets use some of their parking lot for staging and stuff. That's all.
We'll see what we can do.
Thank you. Any further questions from the board?
There may be others here who want to comment, I don't know.
What's
Just
that?
other members of the public, I don't know.
Yes, I'm going to ask them.
Yeah. I didn't know, hopefully we've answered the board's questions, and hopefully, and that's the guidance you needed on a couple of points.
I had my mission.
Yeah, and Derek, I don't think there's anything else you can think of that we need to, with the board. I think this helps us to finalize plans, so that we want to be able to come in and a little more discussion with Mark Ryan on a couple of these points. But hopefully then we come in the next time with what we consider to be the plan that we're asking for your approval on.
Anyone from the public have any questions or
Counsel-
comments?
Mr. Chairman. Counselor, what's your status with Concom, Board of Appeals?
We have nothing to do with the Concom in this, there's no wetlands
Okay.
involved. The Board of Appeals, we have their approval for the project, and they voted for that on a 5-0 vote for the special permits and the dimensional relief. The only thing left to be done with them is to present them with the final plan, so that they have it. Then they'll issue the actual written decision. But they have voted in favor of the relief we needed for the project. But as we said to them, look, there's likely to be some pushing and pulling of buildings and other, some of the infrastructure while we're with the planning board. So we'll give you a final plan. We only want to draw one final plan that is the same for the ZBA as for the planning board. So we'll go back to them and file the plan when we're all set.
Thank you. Any other members of the public have any comments or questions? Yes.
Judith Howard, Town Meeting Member, District 3, and also Chair of the Norwood Historical Commission. We find that it's
Address.
sad that.
Address.
I'm sorry?
Address.
Nickel Street.
Norwood, Whitney High School. We think that it's sad that the convent is gonna be lost, but this looks like a very good plan for it. And we were just worried too about the asbestos, the density and everything, so we just wanted to make those comments. But, you know, it looks like a pretty good plan, and wish you all the best of luck.
Thank you.
Yes.
Sally Buttinger, Railroad Avenue. I just have one comment in relation to what Mr. Hassenfuss said about the winter moths. We get them, and we get our tree sprayed. We take care of it. So, and it's maple trees that we have. I don't know what else they bother, but it's the maple trees.
I've also had problems with those, and spraying helps.
Oh, it does, it takes care of them.
Could we have a lot?
Yeah, we used to have a lot, but now we know they're sprayed ahead of time, and
It moved up to my yard and I don't spray.
you better start spraying.
Okay, anyone else? All right, well, thank you.
Do we need to continue?
I think,
I think we better come back with a plan that
That's
you
right,
better
yeah.
see the final version
I'll
and
make
we'll sign off.
Make a motion to continue?
Does the young boss have anything to say to us? Young boss, you have anything for us?
I mentioned to Dave earlier about kind of finalizing whether or not trash pickup is gonna be house to house or a dumpster.
Mark
I don't
Ryan
know.
told me that municipal curbside pickup is available to a development of this nature.
All right, that's good. Other than that, continuing to next meeting seems like a good idea.
okay, so I think you were gonna make a motion.
I was gonna make a
Continue.
motion, when our next meeting is on
Tuesday.
it's a Tuesday night.
Yes,
Is it the 25th?
26.
Why is it on a Tuesday?
Because of the election,
Oh, April 1st.
the League of Women Voters, we have.
No,
No.
no, they're on the 18th, so we can go back to a Monday. We can go back to
Yeah,
Monday.
did you
We've
confirm
already-
that, Joe?
Oh, you've
We've already posted, so legally, yeah.
Oh,
What can you unpost it?
We got 2 weeks.
February's
No,
still
it's
up
already
there,
been
I don't
posted
know.
for the meeting,
People
so
really
it's
playing with my
it's already
head.
had a first run.
I don't know if
Oh,
my
you
wife
mean
will let me
legal-
out
the
on
hearings.
Tuesday.
Yeah, hearings.
The
I
hearings,
use the excuse of
the hearings
planning
are
board.
scheduled for the
hearings are
for the
Tuesday night.
26th.
all right, so,
All right, so Tuesday, the 26th?
at, I don't know what time. Are you gonna be, let me ask you this, do you guys be ready in 2 weeks?
Yeah, I'm gonna be
Okay.
finish everything up in the next couple of days, get it to Mark Ryan and planner's office.
So I think we have them scheduled like 7:05, 7:15, 7:30, depending on, I guess, later today when we talk about them and how we feel about them. I mean, 7:45, 8, that'd be fine time to reschedule or continue
I
this.
mean, this one won't take long, right?
No, yeah. But some-
How long your hearing's gonna take?
Yeah, that's, what do we,
some of them will take a little longer than others.
yeah.
Yeah.
You wanna put
Are
them
you
on-
got a
Would-
7:05 already scheduled?
Yeah.
Well, you wanna go for 8 o'clock?
Yeah, so if you guys agree to that.
Does that give you think that's, I mean, you think that's enough time to,
I think so, yeah.
I mean, why, why have them sit around for an hour? I mean, you're probably gonna sit around for a half hour anyway, but 8 o'clock, Mr. Chairman?
That'd
I've
be
nothing
fine.
better to do.
That'd be fine. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed?
So it's gonna be
a
Tuesday night, the
5-0.
26th?
Tuesday.
That's gonna be in the community room at the police and fire station.
Oh,
Community room at the
Okay.
police and fire station.
good to know, because we've been
Yeah.
sitting around here more than an hour.
26th. Police and fire.
Yeah, why are we at police and fire? Is that for the the
It-
overlay?
We expect a bigger
We
crowd.
expected a bigger crowd just because it's a public hearing, so just to be safe.
We're doing
On
some of
the,
the,
To the Willow Way.
Some of the
No,
things
no,
for
we-
town
the
meeting,
articles-
right?
town meeting articles.
Little room was booked, I think they're doing like,
Something was
Twice that
booked for
night.
the Willow Room, I thought.
I
I saw
thought-
Yoga.
We're doing the overlay, right?
Yoga.
Or something, no? Okay.
Yoga's over by 7, because that's when we had our meeting.
all right, well, we'll see you in,
So
on the
we
26th.
believe it to be, you say it's at the
It's-
police.
yeah, it's
Okay,
police and fire,
okay.
yeah.
Must have missed that on the legal notice. Thank you.
I always try to go Willow first, but they're always booked.
Yeah, that's an easier one.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank
So,
you.
Thank you very much, folks. Thanks
Thank
for
you,
your help.
gentlemen.
Guidance. Looking at next one.
What do we got left?
Next up is the 7:40 PM adequate access update, Sunset Avenue, John Glosser of Glosser Engineering, Inc.
On ad nauseam up there.
Yeah, he's here. He's been here for a while.
Email me back. Try to get a hold of him. I just got an email.
No answer.
For sale sign.
Oh, on the facility?
Yeah.
Who's the name on it?
Some obscure, you know, and it doesn't even say, it's bizarre.
Hey, John, how you doing?
Find it.
It's too bad on that 737 going down, huh?
I'm thinking in 6
It's a new one.
minutes. Yeah,
Because I know, like,
2 years old.
it's the new version of it because,
And I just.
like
went by 'em.
Southwest, that's all they fly is everybody flies 737s. I mean, that's the most popular jet out there. But I
I
guess
think we
there's
got a
a,
computer
new.
override problem going on.
well, it's a brand new one. It's a new model,
Right.
new
The Max-
version, and that's the
Max
one
8, yeah.
they've had an issue with.
Okay, John.
Southwest flies
Okay.
them old jalopies.
So, I'm here, right, you guys know.
We know
I'm here,
John
did you?
Glosser,
Yeah, yeah, John Glosser, Glosser Engineering,
Come out of
46th Street.
retirement.
I did go on
He looks
vacation
good.
for a little while.
Retirement's treating them good?
Yeah, retirement. Did go on vacation for a little while, which set me back, and I apologize for that, but, we did a, copies here. So, I don't know if you saw them, you have them?
No.
These guys? These guys.
Yeah, so there's two versions. One is a wood wall, and I know the abutters don't want a wood wall, but I do have a. Okay, and then the other one, this is different. This would be a block wall,
Now, we got
which I
something
think is
from,
probably more palatable.
Are these?
No, no, can they come up here, or is
They
that?
can move up a little closer if they'd like.
I don't really want to sit anyway.
Okay, okay.
Are these the
as you don't
same
mind.
that we already have? Can we
Yeah,
just take a
yeah,
copy?
yeah. Yeah, I just made more copies. But these were emails to the abutters and to their landscape
So
consultant.
there's just one page, John, I'm sorry. you gave
There's
me-
actually two, but the one, you know, and, you know, I know that when I met with the abutters, that they were, originally they had sort of, were interested in a wood wall, but their
I'll say sketch
consultant,
two.
their landscape consultant sort of talked them out of that.
This has a smooth line.
Yeah, the squiggly line would be the
Okay, sketch one.
modular block wall, like an Allen block or something like that.
and the neighbors
You got one of these?
have,
I do.
come in on both.
Well, they've seen them, they're not necessarily right, well, I emailed them to them, you know, I'm not sure how much.
So I was, may I?
Yeah,
I was a little confused on where Mario's property ends and the shed and the neighbor start. So,
so this is the.
and I stopped up there today
this
at
is the-
5:30.
This is the lot line here for this building.
Okay,
Right, kind of this odd shaped lot.
Okay.
So this is all of the neighbor's property. So all of this work is taken care of, is taking place on their property.
okay.
Okay, there's other work, setting the bounds and things like that, that take place within the layout, and then setting the iron pipes that'll take place
So
on
because
private
we had
property.
Mr. Santoro there allowing that, that's how we got in this mess, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
that's my understanding.
I'm sorry, allowing what?
He let Mario do the cliff. Okay. Okay, I mean, that's right. I mean, Lou was here and I said, Lou, are you okay with this? And,
Yeah,
Yeah, but, you know, was not a young man, my understanding.
oh, he was sharp as a tack.
Okay.
Hi, Lou.
So,
So what's our, because it's on, we're still holding, I just need to get to my head.
60,
We're still
70.
holding a bond up here. And do we have jurisdiction over somebody else's property now that Lou's not sitting in front of us?
well, you have the property owners here.
Part of the problem was that the work that was supposed to have been done was not done properly. And so and that's not a big surprise either, but the retention wall is not graded properly.
Yeah.
And there's stuff there that shouldn't be there, like wood chips that are not good to the.
It's not bark mulch.
Exactly.
It's
So-
not bark mulch.
So I'm gonna run down the,
Mr. Chairman?
pull up that.
Can we have Mr. Grover just,
Mr. Goss.
I'm sorry, Mr. Glasser, just go through and tell us, you know, what, we read his letters, what he found on the chips and what he thinks the soil is and all of that, so we can kind of get where he's at on his research before
Sure.
we get into all
And
the questions.
I just have one question too.
Yep.
As far as the neighbors, have you been able to talk to them prior to coming here tonight, or?
Well, I sent them the plans. You guys are able to see those plans? Did you-
We just got them the other day, but before we go into this, when my uncle gave Mario, go ahead on the chips and stuff, my uncle got sick, and then he didn't see what was going on after that. And I kept on hopping on Mario, when are you going to finish, when are you going to finish? So Uncle Woody was still alive when he was doing all this stuff, when he wasn't doing all this stuff that he was supposed to be doing. So unfortunately, he passed away, and these guys bought the house off of them.
Off of Lou? Is Uncle Woody Lou?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Is there anything else?
Not right.
I'd just like to hear from
Sure.
John on
Yeah,
what
so,
he found on the cliff
yeah.
and, because you sent a nice letter out on, but just to hear it again.
So back on December 28th, I did 4 test pits, witnessed by the town engineer personnel. Brian Murphy came out. Mark was there for a few minutes. So we did 4 test pits because there was some sort of testimony or there was some sort of confusion as to what was actually in the slope. So you can see, you know, it starts here, there's 12 inches of wood chips here, and then there's fill, and then there's what we call A soil, which is topsoil, and then B soil. So there's fill placed here. And there's wood chips, which not necessarily,
Would you mind saying where here is? Because here,
right in here.
okay, where the red line is.
Test pit right
Okay.
in here. Test pit 2 was right behind the shed where you have 42 inches of wood chips. And then
Good
you
game
know,
on
about 22 inches of fill over the existing ground that was there. So this is a slope going down, so we'd expect to see the existing ground. Test pit 3, which is in this location here, 40 inches of wood chips, 40 inches of fill. So this is the fill that, you know.
40 inches deep?
Deep, yeah, down from the top. We're measuring from the top. So 40 inches down with wood chips, 40 inches with the fill. But the fill is stabilized. It's not, this was, I wouldn't call it structural fill, but it was, you know, the type
Big
of fill.
rocks and-
Yeah, the type of fill you'd expect to see when someone's trying to create a slope from a side of a street. So we didn't really see any problems with the fill. We don't want the wood chips there for sure. And then actually the last one, which is over here, had no wood chips. Now we're out of the wood chips. And then we had about 70 inches of fill. And then 10 inches of the topsoil and then the B layer again. So, and then we had met with the owners and their consultant, is his name Kevin, K&K? Ken from K&K Landscapers. And just, there were some pictures, I had some pictures, and basically sort of decided, or their preference would be some sort of a like concrete modular wall with sort of let me know if I'm interpreting what your wishes incorrectly, but with some sort of a level area behind it where there could be, plantings, flowers, whatever they decide they would want to plant there.
Yeah, like a little-
And then the slope, which would be stabilized with plantings. So what after thinking about that, if we sort of go into that slope with a wall, then it needs to be a true retaining wall, and it would probably be a fairly large, heavy
Concrete wall.
concrete wall, or one of these, they have these
Block.
stone strong.
The lock and blocks.
Yeah, or the ones where they put them down and then they fill them with stone and then they sort of set back.
Step
And,
them. Yep.
not very attractive walls, not very easy to build, actually.
Like the one down at Endicott, have you seen that one?
I haven't,
Oh.
but,
That's gotta be
Probably.
25 feet tall.
and it sort of has little bulbs sticking out on each one. That's what
It's the lock, it's the lock and block system.
Yeah. So what I did was I took a wall here, right, and I'm following the 90 contour line. So the bottom of the wall is at one elevation. It's essentially at 90, but I figured by the time they put that wall in and everything and kind of flatten it out, maybe it's going to be around I think I said 89.5, the bottom. And then the top of it at elevation 93. So that's going to give you like 42 inches. So if that's too high, just let me know. I mean, I know we talked about maybe something in that range. So if
So
you,
at the high point of the wall, you're only at 44 inches?
the wall's always going to be that elevation. So what I'm doing is that's why it's got this shape to it, and actually the shape, I'm not a
So it's gonna be the
It's
same
following
all
the
the way
contour
around.
line.
It follows the contour line,
Yeah.
and then on the bottom, right, so it's just following
Your
one
zero.
contour.
Right.
And then it's just goes up 3.5 feet, and it's gonna, as long as we're following that contour, which what it's
3.5 feet
doing,
isn't bad.
it's gonna be completely level. And what that's gonna do
That's not bad.
is, so now that's at the bottom of the slope. So here's the slope, and then the wall gets built here, right?
Then you backfill.
So there's nothing pushing on that wall except what gets backfilled right in here, which we can,
Which would give them their little plateau
so
there.
it's gonna give you about 10 feet from the wall for your plantings. You can either do that yourself or have Ken do
Design.
something, and we'll include it in this, right? Do you know what I mean? I mean, I'm not, it would just seem to me, if it was up to you, you'd want to have your own guy kind of, he can take that little area and put in there what he wants. On the slope, now I said mix with spreading yews and creeping juniper. He had a problem with the spreading yews, so if you want all creeping juniper, that's fine also.
Now, I think in your letter you said 2 to 1 there?
On the slope.
The
the
slope,
slope?
the steepest part of that slope is 2 to 1, and a lot of it over here is less than 2 to 1.
Okay.
Right? On the ends over here where the house is, we're just putting in some junipers and just
Yeah.
leaving that slope the way it is. It's kind of,
And 2 to 1's okay, the wash and everything?
well, so Ken made a good point. So we're showing, what we would normally show, which would be our under drain behind the wall
Yeah.
here. And he's sort of saying, well, you got this 2 to 1 and then you got this level, so maybe there'd be a lot of water there. But we can either put an infiltration trench or kind of a gutter along here, so that the water comes down the 2 to 1 slope,
Yeah.
and then it's going to dissipate
Dissipate, yeah.
right or left, probably towards the back.
Actually, the 3.5 foot wall all the way around isn't bad. And then you have a step back behind it. You put a garden up there, you do some trees to hold that thing together, it'd be pretty. Actually.
Well,
So, if everyone agrees, then what I would need from you is just, yeah, that's what we want you to do, John, and then we'll go and do the final design. work with you or Ken to come up with exactly the manufacturer of the wall, if you want, you know, Allen Block, or there's different ones. I know you sent some to us. We'll do the final design. We'll do the drainage design. I can get someone to do that 10 feet from the wall if you want me to, but you might want to have.
In the letter, you were also saying that you were gonna cut down more trees?
So, Mark Ryan, there's 2 trees here that are on quote-unquote town property, right? Because they're within the Sunset Ave layout. He doesn't want those 2 trees. There's pictures of those trees in his, those trees are gonna die.
Right there.
That's why he probably wants
Yeah,
to.
right there.
So they're up on top.
Yeah, they're these trees, so it's these
Where's the
2,
rock?
which are right,
Where's the
right,
cliff?
it's these 2 right here.
The big piece of rock is right next to him?
So those trees are buried and the bark has been
The bark's,
scarred.
yeah, it's
Right, well, he
pretty
did
scarred
that.
off.
Exactly.
Right. So Mark Ryan is saying, take those down, and we're probably gonna, so there's some street trees planted, we'll probably just put another street tree right here. I'll ask Mark about that.
Right, it was part of the landscape plan on our planning board decision. And he buried those trees this far
Right.
into the thing.
Right.
So
Right.
they,
And, you know, worse than that,
Killed
they,
him.
they were
Yeah,
hit, they were hit pretty hard with a backhoe or something. The bark's rubbed off of them in a number of places.
Mayor?
Yes.
This is all great. However, what are we, town people, we have what, 16,000?
No,
67,000.
Oh, 67,000, sorry, I
Yeah.
did a little dyslexic there. So is all of this work on the land and the road gonna cover 67,000
Is there
gonna
enough
cover?
money yet? There's enough money.
Because the road and the trees, which need to be replaced, are we gonna pull up that curb, or are we gonna let them have that 3-inch reveal?
Well, Mark, and I don't want to put words in his mouth or whatever, but you can talk to Mark about it, but he told me that the curb, there's nothing you can do about it now.
Okay.
The curb's gonna
That was
stay.
in his letter that the curb
But
was.
was the top layer of asphalt ever put down?
Yeah,
It was?
yeah, it's all done. All that's done. Really, what's left to do is this landscape and this wall,
Okay.
and then setting of the bounds, setting of the iron pipes at the property corners, fixing up this tree. I have to talk to Mark about what he wants to do, like between the guardrail, you know, up here, what he wants for treatment. That's still sort of not left 100%. But I'll
It's
talk to Mark.
not even 40%. I mean, we had trees on the plan for the development. And they're, can't even go, but I would like those, I'd like their property fixed also, but for the
Right.
town, because it is a public street, or we haven't
Right.
taken it yet, but it's a public street, I would like the trees replaced and planted properly.
In the course of this, John, did you ever get the landscape architect's drawings for this? That was a requirement we asked for half dozen times and was never produced that I can remember.
No, I don't think that was ever done. I think, you know, what I was trying to do is, and I'm
Yeah.
not trying to shift the responsibility to somebody else, but since it's someone else's property, they have a landscaper that they're consulting with, you know, why not, you know, rather than being a little bit of a ping pong ball,
Yeah.
why not let him, who has a good relationship with the owners, just work it out? We'll put it on the plan.
But I'm to Debbie's point of the town property piece of it, inside the boundary, which is town responsibility. The plantings that were required. That
It's
aren't,
usually on, but you were looking for something other than, I mean, I'm not trying to be argumentative. It's
Yeah, no,
usually
no, I
on
know.
the plan, you know, on the approved plan, shows the trees, how many, this.
Yes, it did. And he didn't do them.
Yeah, well, I can work with Mark and
Okay.
Paul and make sure that gets done. You can see there are some that were planted. and you're gonna get mad at me, but you know, the bigger tree you plant, the less likely it is that it's gonna survive. So,
well-
be careful with those 4.5-inch caliber trees.
Right, but then they gotta give me more of a,
It's
Okay.
more than that, because they require a lot of water.
so they drink a lot of
They re-
water. so
Like
it
the
doesn't-
other
long
guy was
time.
saying, they require someone to keep an
Somewhat of a
eye on them
ball.
as far as disease and insects and stuff. So the bigger the tree, the less likely it is that it'll survive. But, so usually you want about a 2-inch tree, not a 4.5.
I'll be dead before it gets to 4. One other
You're not
quick, so you
commenting on
think,
your health, I hope.
no, you think 67's gonna cover
Yeah,
their building and replacing what the town,
Yeah.
because I want their land fixed, but I don't want the taxpayers to pay for Mario's fixing up there around Sunset Ave,
no.
okay?
Ernie, do you have a question?
Just, Mr. Chairman, just through you, so going by our conversations and the letters I'm writing, and John can answer this, we're pulling the bond here, right? Is that what we're doing? Mario's not kicking in on this?
No, Mario, you're
Well,
gonna
remember
use,
originally, we talked back in November or December that we were gonna try to hit Mario up for some extra money to
Well,
put
I-
into this. So, but.
I told him that and he didn't say no, so I'm
Has he
assuming,
written you a check?
No.
no, but, I'll.
So worst case scenario, if we have to pull the bond, you feel confident that we're gonna,
Oh, yeah,
we've
yeah.
got money to take care of this?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I'll get you.
So we're, to Debbie's
we'll get you
point,
the
we're not,
cost.
we're not,
It-
we're not
it
digging
estimate.
into the, we're not digging into the town coffers here.
No, no.
Okay, so, it's still early spring, so when is this, you expect to have everything take place?
I would come back in 2 weeks, because I think you want to get this thing done soon. So we come back, if we're agreeing with this concept, right, we're gonna follow one contour line, right? You understand what that means, right? I'm not trying to belittle you or anything.
It's not gonna be a
Just
straight
following
wall.
one elevation, and then we're coming up 3 feet. And that's why it has that curve to it. And actually, a curved wall like that is stronger than a straight wall. Because if you
absolutely.
think of something that's convex like this, try to push it over.
Yeah.
It's a lot harder to push that over than something that's straight like that, which falls right over.
That's why keystones work.
Yeah.
That's
exactly.
correct.
And all of that area is gonna be cleaned up, because
Oh,
honestly,
all-
he threw all his junk there. I took pictures of it, there's dead trees, there's dead branches all in the back. That was-
Okay,
it's
you're
gonna be
talking about
cleaned.
everything, just the general
I'm
cleanup
just
of.
talking about the general cleanup, there was,
Okay.
in the back, he was throwing in
Okay.
tree trunks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does your fill include all the rocks that he dumped over there? Fill means rock or whatever.
Gravel.
Boulders, he took out
Yeah,
of
they-
the foundation.
Yeah, you
and-
can put boulders as fill.
Which is, okay, but that's what he means. John, is that what you mean by fill?
Hold on, he's writing a note.
Okay.
No, that's okay.
Which I meant gives it stability, I understand that, but,
Plus it takes up space.
yeah.
Yeah, but it wasn't, the boulders had soil in between them. It wasn't like there were boulders and just a pile of
Right.
boulders. It was placed in there. I think PJ Hayes did most of the work, my understanding. I saw pictures that were provided to me by Tom Flaherty from PJ that showed his trucks and the slope. I mean, they were getting, I thought.
PJ started.
Yeah.
I don't believe he finished.
His trucks might have been there. They dumped the rocks and stuff like that, but there wasn't any fill in between those rocks. I mean, I was looking at them, and I kept on telling my uncle that these rocks, they're going to shift, they're going to move, because there was nothing, there was space, a lot of space in them.
Yeah, you can't have air in there.
Right.
But John is saying
didn't really
that
see
soils
that.
have now settled in
Yeah,
there
we didn't really
for
see
the
that.
amount of time we've had it.
We didn't really see that, but it could, I'm not saying you're not telling the truth, but over time, you know, it all sort of washes in and becomes
Eventually, yeah.
stabilized. So we saw what we thought was very stable slope.
Yeah.
Do you put weep holes in a 3-foot wall, or does it have to?
So we don't necessarily need weep holes. We put,
Put it
at
behind
the
it?
bottom of it, we put a perforated drain that's in stone, and then that's, you know, most likely gonna just discharge out over here. And then, like I said, Ken made a good point, and that is that this is steep and then this is flat, so maybe
run
at the
behind
same place, we'll just put what's called an infiltration trench, right? So we're just gonna make a trench out of stone that's with filter fabric around it, so that the,
Keeps the silt
from getting in there, and so the water goes in, and then the water runs out to the side, so it'll,
Leach.
yeah, well, it'll leach in, but it will,
percolate at the same time.
yeah, it'll take it, though, it'll divert it so that it's not, all of the water's not gonna have to go over that wall, it'll go off to the side. So, I mean, it's not, and
Be
I'm
good
not,
water for the tomatoes.
yeah, I mean, Ken, it was a good point, but it's not a huge it's steep, but it's very small, actually. So, I mean, I could do the calculation, but the
Okay.
actual rate of runoff there or the volume.
Again, I mean, I think it's great that you're working with their guy, because it's their piece of dirt. And, you know,
Yeah, and it only makes sense, right? I
Right.
mean, because or else I'm gonna say petunias and they're gonna say
Right.
roses or whatever, and then you're
Right.
gonna have to decide.
right.
You always like the petunias.
So,
Good, Mr. Chairman, I think that we're,
Thank you for your
keep
report,
working.
sir.
And are you happy with the way this is progressing? And
Yes, I have a question, a couple
Yeah.
of questions. So, along the slope, are you putting something on top of it? I see bank run gravel, I don't know exactly
So
what that is.
it's kind of gravel, so it doesn't have any fines in it. It's sand and small pieces of
So
stone, you know.
it's gonna fill the air that is left,
So we take all of those
She's
wood
talking
chips
about.
out, right? And then we're gonna put bank run gravel. The reason you wanna put bank run gravel is they can wet it, right, a little bit, and then they'll compact it so that it's gonna be a solid slope, a solid material that
As well as
can't
construction
wash
wall.
away, right?
And the Jupiters will actually grow heartily. and-
Well, so when the junipers, he didn't put it on here, but when you put the junipers in planting material, so it's not all bank run gravel. The junipers are not gonna live in bank run gravel. But the majority of the slope is gonna be bank run gravel, topsoil over that, but the junipers will be put in planting material. They'll be planted, right? And then it's gonna be covered with bark mulch. Well, again,
Yeah, I thought, I
So,
thought we said
so
no on
there's
the front.
topsoil, gotta do something, I guess, so
I-
the topsoil doesn't run away
Right.
unless you were to coat the whole
Right.
top with junipers.
right, again, if you wanna talk to Ken about it, and there's some other treatment that he recommends,
Yeah. Okay.
that's not a problem.
I mean, the plantings will keep that wall together. Just, Mr. Chairman,
yes,
if I could just ask John if he's seen this from Mark, dated today. It just has a couple of comments, which I think maybe you should talk to Mark about.
Okay,
About the wall constructed as a poured concrete, retaining walls, okay. He's not recommending a 2-to-1, but a 3-to-1. And the detailed landscaping we're taking care of, and the removal, but I don't know if you saw that, it's on that.
no, he didn't CC me on it.
If, before we meet again,
I'll talk to Mark.
you may want to just touch base with Mark, especially on number 2 on that, because we talked about the 2-to-1.
On number 2 and in on number 1, I know what he's saying.
Well, I think the retaining wall you're talking about is fine.
Right.
A lock
I
and
mean,
block type wall is
right,
fine.
it'll have the
You're only
appearance of
going up
this.
3.5 feet.
Right,
Yeah.
it'll have the appearance of this, but this is a gravity wall, so this wall is half the width of the height, so if it's 6 feet high, it's
Yeah.
3 feet wide. So this is not really what we would
Right.
anticipate. We'd anticipate kind of an Allen block, I'm sure you've seen an
Yeah.
Allen block, or,
Yeah.
right?
But it's
But
not
I'll-
gonna be a
I'll-
formed concrete wall, I think is what I don't know if he's asking for a formed wall. But just, if you could just touch base with him on number 1
Yeah.
and 2,
Yeah.
just so next
Yeah.
time we meet that,
Yeah,
he understands and you can
Yeah.
explain to him, that the 2-to-1 and what your findings are and the way you wanna construct this.
yeah, no, I'll definitely talk to him.
And number 4 is about removing those trees. Should we be replacing those also?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. There
He was saying he was gonna
should be 1 or 2 replaced, at least 1 right here. Right? So I think what Mario tried to do, so these are the trees that were planted, right, as part of your approval. But I think what Mario tried to do was sort of skimp on it and use these ones here and not, put a new one here and say, well, those are my, but Mark wants those down. I can understand why.
They're in the right of way, correct, John?
They're so yeah, there's other ones that are on the abutters property. Again, you guys can recommend to me what you would like to do. You might want to have someone look at the tree, but I'm not an expert on trees, but I see a lot of construction, and usually when we see those trees that just get hit and the bark knocked off, and they usually die in a few years and come back in a spring and there's no leaves, and you go, boy, that's a surprise. So that's why Mark doesn't want this, because, then it's the town of Norwood's gonna pay to get someone, or they remove them, and then someone's gonna wanna replace, so why should the town of Norwood be paying for that?
Mr. Chairman, is 2 weeks enough time? That's gonna be a big,
It's gonna be a big night.
That's a Tuesday night.
That's a Tuesday night.
A big night. The next
You-
one
you
after
wouldn't
that
be-
is April 8th, right?
yeah, but they could come, but you wouldn't be able to put them on till like 8:30 or 8:15. You just have the convent at 8. Convent won't take long probably, but
Those others might hold those up. And we're gonna be down at the police station, right?
Yeah.
Police and fire.
Well,
Do you want to jump to the following meeting? I mean, you don't, you're just banging this out.
well, I just think because you lose the spring planting, we want to get everything in
Very
probably by the middle of
Okay.
May at the very
All right, well,
latest.
We'll,
I don't have a problem with getting the plans right, back to you guys next week, and if I have to wait,
well,
I'll wait.
Do you wanna shoot for that Tuesday night? And I don't know.
26th.
Tuesday night,
I think just because of the requirement number 2 and just kind of clarifying that with Mark Ryan, I don't know if the 8th might be a better option, just because that night's pretty packed and we're
Yeah.
going to it for a little while.
Yeah.
But it's up to the board, it's up to you guys.
Yeah, I
Bring
mean,
him in on the 26th, keep him going.
Mm.
I mean, he's made a ton of progress.
I don't think that the abutters want a 3-to-1 slope, because you know what that, understand.
That's
right?
that'll pump it back out.
That's gonna push, that means your shed's gonna move. So it's gonna take away, and believe, obviously,
No,
it's
I
not my
get it,
property,
but-
and I'm on your side, I know you might not believe that, but it's gonna, make your level area of your lot that much smaller if I grade that off at 3-to-1.
I get it. Who's asking for the 3-to-1?
The town engineer, but, the town engineer worked for me for a long time, so I'm pretty sure.
Well, anyway,
Yeah, but
all
it's
right,
bigger than
so let's
yours.
go, so you wanna shoot for the 26th late,
8:30.
8:30? And if you can't make it, or something comes up, just notify Patrick or
And
Paul.
make sure you just check in with everyone that you're supposed to check in with,
Yeah,
the town
Yeah.
engineer.
I'm glad we're making progress here, somehow, some way.
And if,
We'll get the wheels
if you can
rolling.
let Patrick or Paul will be back, let them know what the progress is.
Yeah, no, I'll
If you're still on
You'll be
definitely,
in
board,
touch.
definitely, yeah. Unfortunately, I went on vacation for a while, I'm never gonna do that again. Yeah.
I didn't mean to screw it. Prop wood wall, is that proposed?
Proposed.
Okay. And you're aware that we're not,
He already said that.
Yeah, so
Just wanted
we're
to clarify.
going, so the plan you see, the next plan you see will be modular block wall, with a design, and,
It'll be
with
3-dimensional?
3-dimensional.
Okay. Well, I'm a visual kind of person. I get the whole topography and everything. I understand what you're trying to do. I still like to see what it's going to look like at the end of the day.
that's all.
I'll try,
Okay.
I'll try.
Just, you know, like from where we live, from
No.
Yeah, well, the manufacturers of the walls have all
where
sorts
they
of.
have, okay.
Texture.
things that- Yeah, that-
And one other quick question, what was the question? Oh, at the top of the road, there's a, the wood post.
The guardrail.
Guardrail, made
It's
out
out
of
with some
wood.
cones.
And that's gonna stay, right?
yeah.
And, okay.
Is that
and
gonna be reinforced? Because there's a section of it that's gone.
So,
assume the missing
to
section's
do
gonna
this
get
work, they're gonna have to
replaced.
remove at least some of that, you know, probably at least half of it. They're gonna have to at least remove the rails, to do this work, because they need to get it, you know, to get all those wood chips out of there, and then to put so it'll sort of get rebuilt.
Okay,
Right,
but it'll be the same material,
yeah,
basically.
yeah.
And he'll put that back, because that was part of the,
Yeah,
yeah, of
Yeah.
the work.
Just gonna take it down to do
Right,
the work,
but-
and then when they're done, they'll put it
He's
back.
gotta put it back.
Okay.
Very good.
think
I
we're
mean,
all
you're
set.
gonna hang on
Anything-
to his money, his 67,000 until all of
I
this
think
is
you're
done.
spending more than that, but I could be wrong.
No, we're not spending more
Okay.
than that. I don't think we're spending more than that.
Got my trees up now.
Mhm.
All right, well, thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Nice work, John.
Okay, so hopefully you'll be saying that same thing in 2 weeks.
Yeah, when the tan's gone.
No. Are you just being a nice neighbor?
Well, they're my best friends,
Okay,
and it was my uncle's house, and I would love to see something finished that was started while he was there. So that's why. And
we'd
I-
like to
I
have to
live-
stop discussing this, I would anyway.
Yeah, me too.
I
And
live right
I only got it
beside-
twice.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
Oh, she has a vested interest in it.
okay.
yeah.
She needs to make it
Yeah, actually, you just gotta look at it too.
Good night.
Okay, great,
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I gotta step out for a second.
Okay, let's pass a lot of.
All right, Patrick, what else we got?
So, last time on the agenda, and obviously on the 26th, we'll have a public hearing for these, but town meeting articles. Just want to first talk about the memo from Paul relating to the downtown mixed-use overlay
Yeah, I'm
amendment.
completely confused.
With it in general, or
Yeah.
with the?
Are we, I mean, I read it, but I still am confused. After, I know Mr. Riley wanted to just, so are we still doing I thought we were gonna bump it until the fall.
No, well, the, if you read
The
I did,
memo.
but I
his
don't
memo,
understand it.
his memo is that, the selectmen would like to, mention that they'd like to have it move forward if we could. And so, we're making an effort to get that.
I think after discussing it with the selectmen, and I think we're going to push forward and kind of weigh the waters and see where we're at. And if need be, we can always not go forward with the motion. But I think right now we're going to continue on course and try to go with
I
our
think
plan.
what confuses me is everybody says forward, and I think forward in the year, not back.
They're trying, instead of.
They're trying to get it on this
the-
town meeting.
Yes,
Okay.
that's the
The
bottom
special.
line.
Forward says to me, we're
Moving,
going
right.
into September.
No.
But we decide, okay,
the initial thought was move it to the fall,
right.
and
Which we
after
talked about at the
reconsideration with the
selectmen
chairman and
September
the
would be
town
the
planner
exact
and the
waiting.
board of selectmen,
Okay.
they're gonna try it to get it onto this year.
Yes.
With, a footnote, so
Yep,
what,
so if you, I don't have the bylaws in front of me, but the big issue for that, or for most of the, doing multifamily in central business district, is footnote 2, which is 10,000 square feet for residential units and then 3,500 per each additional dwelling unit after that. Kind of taking a mixture of both, going forward with our mixed-use overlay, and as well as Mr. Riley's comments from the meeting. The whole change of footnote 2 was kind of our original purpose of doing this, is trying to make it I guess, a more acceptable version of, more acceptable density requirement that
And-
would both be, you know, fitting for the town itself as well as
Economically feasible.
yeah, exactly, for the developers. So there was a correction, I think I have, let me just bring it up. Basically, everything has been kind of changed, whereas the, I don't even think I have that on. Oh, here we go. To allow for 16 dwelling units per acre, as opposed to, I think, rounding to 11.
10 or 12, I think it was.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we
so-
increase the density.
Increase the density.
Increase the density, and one of the big changes is for the central business district, we have 5,000 square feet plus 2,570 square feet per each additional dwelling unit. The reason being is that in the central business district, most of the lots are, you know, significantly smaller than 10,000 square feet. So even reaching that first threshold is unlikely.
Okay, so. Is it gonna be a planning board thing or a zoning board thing?
So
And is that
this,
a question we're asking?
Well,
Footnote two-
I don't think it's either, or you could say
It's
it's
both.
both.
It's
I mean, you know, it has, this is what they wanted us to do before, and this is, they had a problem, and they came up with a solution. It may be slightly different than what they proposed, but it answers the question. I think it was written a little differently. This is, I think, a little bit more straightforward.
Yes.
Perhaps, I think that's Paul thought. And they didn't want to leave these other areas out because they have things coming before them that, especially down
in the
before you,
ward,
just in the ward, just before you get to the
Well, they had
the
that.
Rama, they had
Mm-hmm.
something there, and they held
Mike
back.
Podolsky's project.
They held back, the zoning board of appeals held back
Right.
because they didn't feel, they thought it was too much of a jump. But this would have made them feel a lot more comfortable to go with it the first time.
Yes.
So this is the kind of thing that I think that they were looking for, and I think it's the kind of thing that when Paul looked at it and re-examined it, and he's bringing it forward to us now, I hope that the rest of the board is happy with this also, and that we can bring this to town meeting and pass it.
yeah. At the same time, we are continuing with the same version that you saw of the mixed-use overlay district. That's the same, but, you know, equal but different in the sense that it's more of a design standard of how we want to both, control and deal with multifamily growth within the
I
central
guess
business
that was
district.
my question, because well, now I've got about 9 copies of these, because we keep getting more of them. So has the basic overlay, downtown overlay district, what are you calling it, MOPA or MAPA or something?
Yeah, mixed-use overlay
Mixed-use
district.
overlay. Has this one significantly changed from maybe 2 before?
Nope, so this
Okay.
is, when we met with the selectmen, this is the same version.
Okay,
But what about the density in that?
Oh, well, that's the part that's probably changed.
That's
Yeah, well.
that's the big part.
Well,
but did we take the
So
density
we-
out of there and put it in here?
No, you gotta do them both.
Yeah. Patrick, is this the final draft at this point, or I know that Paul was looking to have it simplified more, and he was looking to Ted.
So Ted is, Paul has obviously from the beginning reached out to Ted to try to scale this back, but not take anything away from it. So we are still waiting on Ted probably for
Okay.
a
So this may not be
third
the
version.
final that we have in front of us right now.
Right.
Yeah.
One of the reasons I suggested that we wait till the fall on this was that I think included in this should be, to Debbie's point and all of our point really, is a sign package. You know, on this overlay. I guess that's probably more of a central business district issue, but I want to
But
check
it's a
with.
big issue.
But it's a
You're
big
absolutely-
issue.
You're
Yeah.
absolutely right.
You know, I don't
Could we get something?
know if you're gonna see. That's the thing. I don't know, and I don't even know where to start on the signs. I'd have to talk. I came in Friday. You weren't around, Paul wasn't around, by the way.
I was
so-
in the morning.
So Al and I discussed the sign package, but, no, only kidding. But I was actually gonna come in to talk to you
Yeah.
guys about that, because I think that, to all our points, the signs uptown,
Yeah.
we don't have we
A
have
standard.
we have a stand, we have a bylaw.
We have a
bylaw. We have a bylaw, but I think it, like to Debbie's point, I agree with Debbie on that we should,
Yeah.
What's today's date?
have play the lottery, play
Martin,
the
write
big
it
draw,
down.
big
Yeah.
winnings tomorrow
There
night,
you
right?
go.
So, that was my thing, is it the sign package for the central business district, or is it for both? Or, I guess my question is, I have to separate, how do we separate one from the other? So if it's, if we change the bylaw in the central business district,
Mhm.
and then you have the overlay,
Yes.
and then someone comes, and we put a sign package together for the central business
Mm-hmm.
district, and now we have the overlay, gets passed.
Okay.
So somebody comes in under the overlay, mixed-use overlay, they still are required to go to the central business district sign bylaw.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so it doesn't have to be written into the overlay bylaw.
No, so
No.
all the pre-existing zoning
Right,
still.
so-
And if we're
okay,
gonna
so we
up-
have to
and if
change,
we're gonna
okay.
update that, we can certainly do that separately.
Right, we
Although,
could do that.
Although, one of the reasons to update it at this point, it has more urgency maybe, is that
If
we'd
this
like to
passes.
we would love to put the whole package together, but it might be simpler to do
So
this
maybe
now
we do
and
the
then,
sa-
and then
maybe do the-
concentrate on the
Do the
signs.
signs, do this now, and then do the signs over the summer and bring it to the fall.
And do an
And
amendment.
as
Yeah.
an amendment, as
I
a
haven't- I
zoning
haven't done
change,
my-
as
So-
a zoning
So- as soon
bylaw
as
change
Debbie-
to the
As soon as Debbie
downtown.
gets her group together, we can do it.
So I know that we have the like the downtown
I tell you,
the
get
Central
Jack
Business
Perry.
District sign study that was done a few
Yeah.
years ago. And so I mean I can
A few
talk-
years ago.
Well, we had the sign
Like
facade package
6
years and
years ago?
No,
Six-
It's a few.
well, there used to be a grant. There was, the reason that we had control way back, there was a grant called Sign and Facade Package.
Right.
And that was a grant, and in order to take advantage of the grant money, you had, there were certain requirements you needed on the signs in the building.
Right.
That's why Gary Lee's building on the corner there by the theater was all, and all of that. Well, that's all, that money ran out years ago. Some landlords did not choose, like Dana, did not choose to be part of that, so they didn't have to abide by, those guidelines.
Which is why we have to change it in
But
our
yes,
zoning book.
I think we need to change it, the whole
Which
package.
Mandatory.
When
And I
Steve
think- I think
Costello
one of
was
the
still
great
here,
things-
we started. Remember, we started and we never, because I'm
Yeah,
just,
okay.
I haven't
So
got my
anyway,
people together
we're
yet.
getting ahead of ourselves.
What's the
Okay,
name
so
of
anyway.
that
That might
place
be
you're
an
gonna
issue
have
to
the people
amend
coming
within
from?
the central business
something
district in
else?
general, more
Steel
so
Arts,
than the bylaw.
Steel
Right.
Arts.
So if someone doesn't choose to
I-
do
I did
I
not
can't
get
wait
that.
till
or
they
anything
come
like
in.
that,
Okay.
they just wish to
Steel
put
Eye?
another sign.
Steel
They-
Eye.
they're
Then we
required.
can-
Yes,
yeah.
you know that
Down on-
company,
down
yeah,
on Dean
down
Street.
on Dean Street. And I
And then
talked to
that's
her
gonna take some-
6-8 months ago.
That's gonna
And she
take
said
talking
she
to legal
loved the
counsel
idea,
about
she
what
could
you
give
can
us ideas,
restrict on a
and I just-
landlord and things like that.
Yeah.
Haven't followed through.
Okay.
Typical.
You know who to get a hold of, Debbie? Jack Perry.
Why?
Because he's an architect, he's worked in all these towns around here, and he'll tell you when he comes in and Norwood, he says, he could give you how the other towns are all doing these signs and what's required. I mean, you should hear him talk about, going to these other towns and what they require.
You see him at the
He-
Board of Appeals?
He may
He
be,
get off on that.
yeah, he may be a good
Right.
asset for you. I mean, he's a smart guy, he's worked in all these towns, so he'd be a
Good
good,
Yeah,
source
at
of
Christmas-
good source of
At
information.
Christmas,
for
I
you.
was with somebody and he said, "You're from Norwood? Why don't you do something about your signs? I'm on the sign board," and he was down by the Cape somewhere. I went,
All right, so
Can't
I'm
get
sorry,
away
I'm sorry to go off track, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
So we'll do that in the fall as a central business
Bree
district
and I are on it.
bylaw.
Sign.
Signs.
Thank you for volunteering.
So in addition to those two bylaws, we also have the open lot storage moratorium article that I believe the draft is the same as the one that was handed out a few weeks ago. And
And this has gone to town council or yet, or
Yeah,
will
yeah,
be,
he-
or
yeah.
will be, or?
I will double check my email and I'll double check with town council, but I believe Paul did vet it with them first.
On
Which one are you talking about now,
the
Patrick?
moratorium.
This is the moratorium article.
I almost stole it.
On that, Mr. Chairman, if
Is
you
that in the
could,
package?
It should be.
Um,
Want to take my copy?
Yes.
No,
you had that list given out of all the different, I just want to get with you, because I want
Yep.
to speak on this at town, I'm going to speak on both of these at town,
Yeah.
articles at town meeting, but on the moratorium, if I have that sheet. Did
So-
you count the airport, by the way, down by the airport?
2 lots over there, yes.
By Savers?
Access Road?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So one thing with that, I do not know the final number off the top of my
But
head,
it's just got a rough number, that's
the
all.
rough number, so the lot that was
I'll get
approved-
with you on
yeah.
that privately, but that, I wanna have all those facts and
What's that?
figures.
What's up? I had it
The
at
one that you
35.
yellow
passed out.
highlighted, yeah.
Yes,
I-
yeah.
I
That's the
got
one.
copies.
I still have mine, I have mine.
Okay.
I originally had it at 3,500 spaces, but
Not
after
including-
discussing with Amanda Morgan from the zoning board, the lot off Everett Street should be a lot less than what was originally proposed. I don't have a final count on that number. I believe there's
Say that
still
again?
the
There-
lot off of Everett Street that
Yeah,
was approved.
yeah.
So
By the
origi-
zoning board of appeals.
Yes. So originally, I think we had
700?
700, but I think that number should be significantly less. And that's something that I think they haven't
Why, they run
finalized
out
yet.
of Teslas, or?
Tesla's are parked down on Route 1,
There's some over at
Besmont.
Everett, too.
is there?
So like we said, that number, I'll make sure that if you want that memo, we have that.
I have the memo, I'll
Yeah,
sit down
so
with
it may
you
be adjusted.
on Friday, something
You're
before
gonna speak
town
at
meeting.
that?
I'm gonna speak on both of these.
So the final number of items, items that are gonna be going to town meeting, how many are there? Because there's another one for
Yep.
energy, isn't there, a
So
green?
this article itself isn't necessarily to
Ours?
deal with a zoning amendment. Yeah, it's not with ours. I think it might be its own
Mhm.
article on the special town meeting. And this has to do with adopting the stretch code. The stretch is for stretch building code, and this is one of the criteria for becoming a green community. So in the
Got that
fall,
right.
we obviously had those articles passed regarding setting up locations for both alternative energy, solar, and wind. This is another requirement. So there are 5 specific requirements for becoming a green community act or before applying. So adopting the stretch code is one of the steps that we need to make.
Do you know who's actually gonna be the proponent in,
Paul will probably speak.
Paul will
Paul-
probably speak on it, but it's not zoning, so it's not really something.
and I think it's the town manager asked him to do it, right?
Yes.
So he would be,
Yeah, Paul will
Or-
probably speak on it.
okay.
But I just want to put that in your back as well, as something to be aware of.
Okay, great.
Are you gonna do CPA stuff, or?
Yeah, so I also threw in a memo regarding.
The Green New Deal.
So just, this has changed a little bit. This is the original memo I wrote to Assistant General Manager Bernie Cooper regarding the number of articles. We have the 3 that we discussed, and I didn't include the stretch code article in there. The
Does that
commu-
have to be an article, the stretch code?
It
Yeah.
does. It
Why?
does.
We have
Town has to
adopt it.
vote on
Town
it.
has to
Oh,
Oh,
adopt
we
it.
have to adopt it.
Yeah. The Community Preservation Committee has their public hearing Wednesday. And so I have listed 7 things. Those aren't actually the amount of articles we have. I think 4 of the projects will be grouped into one article. And then the Saint Street lot purchase Saint Street lot purchase would be its own separate article.
Do we have a price yet?
That number's still kind of being discussed with town council, and I think right now they're working on discussing that with their
Sharpening
legal
their
team
pencils.
as
Has
well.
the owner taken control or purchased it?
Nope, so they are still meeting with the Conservation Commission.
Are they really?
Yeah, so they're still meeting with the Conservation Commission.
So that still isn't
and
even not through the appeal period yet.
Not for them yet,
Oh.
so the
My
time,
understanding is that they didn't get plans in on time, is that?
there were,
As quickly as they should have?
There were a few issues. I know there was waiting to get the peer review study done, as well as getting the plans late. I do believe that they're next on their agenda, so whenever their next meeting is, that's the next thing they will be talking about. I don't know what the status will be after that meeting, but for purchasing the lot, if you remember, it has to do with that 18-month clock doesn't kick in until after the final day of the appeal period has ended. Whether we discuss, the purchase using CPA funds before then, I leave that to town council, so that's kind of up to them.
So we really only have the two, moratorium and the downtown.
Yeah, although the downtown broke into two separate articles.
Yeah, so that's really two separate articles, because you got the footnote.
Oh,
Footnote
yes.
and the central business, so that's two, and then you've got the moratorium, that's three. So
Yes.
we're basically three.
Now, am I in the impression,
What the
Mr.
stretch, isn't
Chairman?
that for?
That's not really.
No,
Not really ours, but I just
Not
wanted to
ours.
Oh,
be
but
aware.
it's gotta be,
Um,
so that we don't have to.
Town
buy it.
meeting, we are not, did I read correctly that they're setting up a separate night for the special?
Yes,
Yeah,
they
so
moved it
They moved it,
April 25th?
April 25th will be the special
Back.
town meeting.
Forward, whichever
and the
way
annual
that
will be at the May 13th, which you're aware of.
Forward.
And so,
April 25th.
yep,
In May,
Yeah, it's in your
May
packet,
13th.
Yeah, I saw that. April 25th is gonna be for the special.
Yes.
that we're just doing articles on, right? We're not gonna get the book and all that.
No, the book is the annual.
Right,
Yeah. So,
right? So all we're doing is the stuff we already know about,
Well, we'd be on for the 25th.
yeah.
right?
We're usually up first.
With the exception of the budget,
I have to get.
our articles will be on the
there.
special, yeah.
Now, yeah, the budget, I mean, I would think the downtown overlay district may take a little bit of time, a little bit of discussion in the course of a night.
And I think it, I mean, I think
Yeah,
it
it
should.
should.
We've been
Yeah.
discussing it for
Um,
2 years.
Yeah.
I mean,
And I think, I don't know what else on the special, I think the budget is gonna be, the school budget is gonna be, and the override, I think the override is on the annual,
Yeah,
right?
so that was one of the reasons with breaking up into two different, I guess, a couple weeks apart, was just due to the fact that the annual maybe, it's a long
Intense.
period to begin with, so I think at least having the special on a
usually
separate
runs
week.
4 or 5 nights. now,
Yeah,
I think it'll run all of 4 or 5 nights this year.
yeah.
If not longer.
Don't say that.
Don't say that.
I wish one of the little groups would sell brownies or water at the front door for their civic groups.
I keep asking Dave, halfway through, not at 10 o'clock, but you start at 7:30, around 9 o'clock, time out, when you're in between that, everybody
7-inning
stand up.
stretch.
Everybody stand up for 2 minutes, stretch your legs, and then sit back down.
Sweet Caroline?
Sweet Caroline, and then sit back, exactly.
Yeah, it's like being in math class.
Yeah, it's like, ugh,
The clock hasn't moved.
You could do the wave.
we could do the way, yeah.
So, I don't know if anyone's read through the draft articles right now and has any, comments on them, or if you wanna take the time to.
Well, the
review them all.
downtown one,
Yeah.
that was, one of my questions was how do
Yep.
we incorporate a sign? But I think the chairman answered that by doing a special bylaw change to the central business district would
Yeah,
cover
and I
that.
think we could,
Yeah.
and I
Well,
think
we-
that might be pretty complex in itself, we don't know.
It would be, 'cause we
But
don't
we
know.
do wanna know what kind of materials to use, what the
And
use
what,
of is.
you
I
know,
know that,
signs and.
I know that Debbie makes a good point on the types of materials they
day
use,
is
and
it?
are they good enough, you know?
What day is it?
And let's get some expert
Yeah,
advice on
Yeah.
that, and see what's gonna look best for us.
Hell has frozen over. They both agreed with me. Hell has frozen. What
and
number
we're
is this
keeping
on
the tree
plan?
too, Debbie.
We're keeping the tree.
We're keeping those.
My
little
work
rails.
is done.
Broke them.
I can die a happy man.
Well, I wish the poor gentleman
No,
over
it's-
here that
it's
was the
gender
project
fluid.
manager would said, yeah, I wanna keep the tree.
He's
I
an
would've-
owner.
Yeah, he wants, I'm looking at his plan and it doesn't show the tree, and now he says, I want the tree. Fine, keep the tree, if it dies, it's on you.
I did look up that maple on the interweb. Well,
It's still
I had
living.
somebody do it for me because I'm a little challenged on the interweb, Patrick. And their roots, like the beech tree, come to the top. Some of their roots, like my beech tree that's dead,
Where do you live?
Beech Tree.
Oh, okay.
I heard they were gonna have to change the name of the street.
Oh,
They do, they
don't,
have to-
don't I
they
cry
do.
every time I think about it. But
No, they
they,
do have to-
There's no
they have to
beech-
come to
there's
the
no
top.
beech trees on Beach Street
Yes, there
anymore.
are, but they all
Tilton
have the
Avenue.
same bug.
Hmm.
But they need that to
some
come to
lady-
the top. They're not dying.
Cut hers down.
Which-
How could you do that?
Just two quick things I want to touch on from Paul's memo. 289 Walpole Street, I think you're familiar. That was when Michael Vianos came in to speak about the possible historic overlay zoning. He met with the selectmen, and so as to the status of that, I haven't seen any proposed bylaw from him.
No, but the selectmen said they were gonna put it on,
they
right?
were-
No,
necessarily.
they did not say that.
he came forward with the same
I
kind
thought
of.
they did.
No.
Yeah. No.
They did not say they were gonna put it on. They referred back to us, and they said that I think Mrs. Donahue said that it would behoove them to put that on as a citizens, you know, a proponent, or
Okay.
Yeah.
you know, a
Requested article.
request an article, not
Not put on by the
Not by a
select.
board.
And look, I mean, we could put it on,
Well, can I
And-
just pontificate on the, on?
but you
just-
don't have
just
to.
a quick second,
But you,
just a
but you
quick
don't.
second.
But just so you, by us allowing it,
Reader's
us,
Digest.
by us
Okay.
once putting it
Reader's
on,
Digest.
does not mean we are
Voting in
supporting it.
favor.
I understand that.
Because
I
we still
understand.
have to make a recommendation.
I understand that, and they need an overlay. And I have been, I know you don't believe this, but Joe was talking to people, you didn't say anything to him, but anyway.
Not every week.
If we didn't, if old buildings were not re-calcified, okay, Beacon Hill would be gone. Those all used to be single families, and now they're split up units. So to the argument that it's no longer, Debbie, is it really historic once you make it into condos? Well, most of us haven't even been in the house. Most of us aren't in, I
I'm
mean,
not advocating for it. Tonight's not the night to have that discussion. I don't have a real issue. I have a little issue with the density. But the other things you got to consider, Debbie, is that one of the other properties is the old Laney K nursing home, the old Laney K nursery school.
what's that?
It's right across the street on Berwick. Is it Berwick or Beach that comes down? Berwick. You know, it's
I have,
you know,
lost
Dr.
me.
Brown's house, Dr.
Yeah,
Brown's
yeah,
office used to be
yeah.
right behind it.
Okay.
It used to be, it's a
That
big
big old
mansion.
brown house.
Yeah, it used to
with
be
the
Laney,
portico.
used to be Laney K nursery school.
Is
Okay.
that what that was?
Sure, I went there, my daughter.
Okay, so
went
why
there.
is that a problem?
Well, because that's one of the properties. So if they want to do the same thing and they put condos on, now you have in that neighborhood, you've got because if you give to,
Right, I get
so
that.
they may not be able to put as many, but they could put some. So now, within those two blocks, you have a possibility of multiple areas with these townhouses.
I completely
in an area of beautiful homes. So, I mean, I'm not saying yes or no. I'm not advocating either way, but I'm just saying you got to look at how one plays off to the other. I mean, obviously, everybody wants to save the mansion. I would love to save the mansion.
No, not everyone wants to save it. However,
Correct.
I think that there's,
There's a big tree there, though, that I really,
Yeah, but that's dying.
that tree's dying.
we're all dying, people. So, yes, so if they came to us with the overlay, would the planning board be willing to put it out as an article? Is
We
my
could.
question.
The
We
one
could. I don't know if we vote on that tonight, but I don't think we
I was just gonna say though, in terms of the future of that, there's no actual amendment or bylaw that I know of that is written yet. And I think with the timing of
Right.
everything, I don't know. I haven't been in touch.
Wasn't he doing it? Wasn't the?
Michael? Yeah. So he, the applicant's, I guess, broker Michael Viano was supposedly reaching out to have that written. I have not seen it. Paul
Okay.
hasn't seen it.
timing
so
might not be.
The timing of it, yeah.
Okay.
I'm not sure. of the
By the
future.
time you have public hearings, all that, it may not be. They may
Feasible.
not make the deadline.
Yeah.
I think is what you're thinking, right?
Yeah.
I'd just like everybody to think about it, because if Walter Tilton's house had this in place 32 years ago, his house would not be shoved up in the corner in the back with 60-foot frontage. If this overlay had been available to Walter Tilton's house, it wouldn't be the mess that it is today.
Enlighten me with that location, seriously.
They
Walter
moved the
Tilton's
house.
Yeah.
Where I live.
Oh,
They moved the house.
They moved the house, tore down the carriage house. It was
She
on a
moved in?
3-acre lot. They picked it up, shoved it in the corner. My frontage is 4 foot off my front deck.
perfect. You can,
Exactly. I love the Thomases, but they're 4 feet off my front deck. 60 foot of frontage in an R2, in an S2 district.
wow.
I'm pork chopped. It's,
no.
I'm the only idiot that would buy this house. However,
We're
it
so
is
glad-
your heritage,
Yeah.
Norwood. It is your heritage. And if they had something they could have done with this piece of property 30 years ago, it would still be the big house. It might have 4 condos in it, but it would still be,
Yeah, but why does it have to have 19?
all right, well, let's compromise.
4 is a nice number.
16.
Okay, 4 is a.
16 right now. But
Let's split the
anyway, I
difference.
think they're coming
Okay.
back to us, so
All
we'll
right.
talk to them.
Well,
then,
whatever happens, but it just seems
I would-
extremely dense. I love the idea of being able to allow for some leeway and, you know, because if you're gonna allow for something to be preserved, obviously there has to be it has to be economically viable, and that would be a good way to do it, but the density was off the charts, I think.
I think they could sharpen their pencil, but the density's off the charts. You know, the big guys come in and they get 247 units, and the little guys who are willing to do maybe something a little creative, like make condos and
Maybe they
and
need a
put-
new driveway instead of a road.
Well, there you
Hey,
go.
you can put 19 units on a driveway.
Well, it's the condos problem, but again.
Although I think they're coming back before us.
Okay,
so.
I'm just asking. Maybe the board would think about it.
Move it along, Debbie.
Maybe
Okay.
the board would
Yeah.
think about it. Okay, board.
Yep.
Thank you.
The other thing I just want to touch on is that, as you recall, last year we worked on becoming completing the municipal vulnerability preparedness grant. Doing so allowed us to be eligible for the action grants that come with that, and so the open period for those has, I guess, is here. So me and Paul are looking to submit. I think the deadline is by April 19th, and so when he gets
Well, you
back
got
from
nothing else
vacation.
to do between now and April 19th.
But it's a great opportunity to follow through on a lot of those action items. If
Tell me what that is again.
Action figures.
So- this was a deal with
Floods or something?
thinking forward for climate change,
Climate
and
change, right.
possible action items we can do to mitigate those impacts. And Joe, I believe you came to that workshop we had, and
Yeah.
so through that workshop we came up with about 8 different action items and listed them in kind of order of critical need. And so over the next couple weeks, hopefully me and Paul are going to look at that and see about applying, hopefully, for at least 1 or 2 of those items.
Oh, that's
So-
very
I'm
good.
all for global warming, baby. Bring it on. Bring on the heat.
And there was something we could go to as planners in Worcester. Where I've
Yep.
lost that piece
So-
of paper.
I'm forgetting the name exactly, but basically it was the Citizen Planning Training Collaborative.
Yeah, isn't it
I
like
think it is.
Wednesday or something?
It's
Saturday.
Saturday.
Oh, okay.
So I know,
I signed up.
yeah. Did you get an email by them?
Yeah,
Okay, want to just forward that to me?
I
Yeah.
tried that, but
Didn't
I'll
get
try it again.
Okay.
I thought
Talk to your daughter. She'll show you how to forward stuff.
Mm. Your granddaughter probably know how to do it.
Okay.
That's what I got.
Nice job, boss.
Oh, thanks.
Make a motion to close the public, close the
Second.
meeting.
Second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Bye.